go, so don't worry about it. And let's get going. So one of the neat things that this program does that allows me to beam sort of to everybody at once, check this out. It allows me to bring up video clips. And because the news is so negative, and today is no exception, very negative news from Ukraine, not surprisingly, I'm going to start with a clip from the town of Lviv in Western Ukraine, near to the Polish border-ish. And it is a town that the Russians, I think, have already lobbed a few bombs, but we're expecting Russia now to move into Western Ukraine, where there really weren't attacks yet. Western Ukraine, north to south, really, Poland, Belarus, going down to Slovakia and all of that has been pretty much safe. Well, now they're starting to bomb those areas. And yesterday, the day before, and thank you, Richard. See, I've already, this is good too. Yay. My software lets me see that you did a super sticker, Richard. I'm so glad. I was worried it wasn't going to show that. Excellent. Thank you so much, Richard Fisher. Good. At least now I know I can see it in here too. This is great. So let me show you this. It allows me to show you guys video, which I think is so cool because so many of the stories have neat pictures or neat video, sometimes scary video, obviously too. But I want this to also be inspiring to the degree it can be and not just have negative news. So this is the men's choir in Lviv, either yesterday or the day before. I think it might have been yesterday morning, performing in the town square for everybody in anticipation of the Russians coming in. Now, I'm going to play this, and again, let me know if the sound, if you can hear it okay. It's really beautiful. I won't talk. Just give me a message that says you can hear it. I've got my name is John Aravosis DC. My full name, John Aravosis DC, one word on YouTube. You'll see the video at the top there. All right, guys, I'm going to remove this. Sorry, was just telling the Instagram people, I apologize because I can't show them the video. Instagram is the only service that doesn't, that doesn't connect to all of this. So it's separate. But if they don't mind popping over to YouTube, I hate to move you off of Instagram because I need to grow my followers there. I haven't used it as much. But if you pop over to YouTube, it's John Aravosis DC. Actually, if you just Google Aravosis YouTube, just see how to spell my name, you'll probably find me. But it should be at the very top of the screen. Is that not the most beautiful thing? I mean, I've got chills. I was just listening to it through the earphones turned up loud, just listening to it. Absolutely beautiful. So anyway, yeah, so this is the new software. It's $50 a month. You know what? Totally worth it for being able to do this. Again, I'm going to experiment with all of these things and try to make these chats better, but maybe it's been a mixed blessing. For folks who don't know, I got banned on TikTok from doing lives. I'm still on TikTok. I can still do little videos, but I can no longer do these live chats with you guys because I was doing live updates about Ukraine. The Russians didn't like it, and they sent their bots in to complain left and right about it. The software is called StreamYard, one word, StreamYard. It's great. It has a free version too, but you can't do multicasting. Oh, Jess, thank you for the super sticker, Jess. That was sweet of you. Anyway, the Russians complained and they got TikTok to cut off my live access without even a warning permanently. I appealed it. They said, nope. I'm trying to work behind the scenes via Twitter, via some other things. I appealed it. They said no. And what I recommended, and I think our wonderful moderator put it at the top of the chat. I'd actually have to pull it up again if she's got it. But if you are on Twitter, especially, their Twitter support people for TikTok, they're there. I wrote them and they wrote me back immediately, said, what's your screen room? So they're investigating. Who knows? There are some email addresses too that a wonderful moderator has put up. And be kind. And Oh, there you go. Yep. Yep. Email all these. She's giving you the emails right now to send it to. Reference my account. And if you could also go to the feedback page on TikTok, reference my account, I would appreciate it. If you've heard my lives, let them know if you think this is hate speech, because I'm going to guess it's not. I can be quite a wild guy, but I certainly don't do hate speech, and I certainly wouldn't do it in this. Jenna Spangler, thank you so much for the super sticker. Also, and then finally, like I said, she'll give you the TikTok account number. The Twitter account number, because they respond on there too. Account name. Listen to me. I can't even speak English. So that was the good news, was the men's choir. That video, by the way, was courtesy of Aaron Smith on Twitter. Basically, the Russians now are moving more into Western Ukraine. They're starting to bomb other cities. They're trying to make it clear that it's not safe for anybody anywhere, right? They don't, because currently in the West, and I know the Southwest, where my friend Vlad is, who came on our show last week, Vlad said they're not hearing bombs, or they weren't hearing bombs or anything in the Southwest near the Slovakian border. Now they're starting to bomb near the borders, which is bad. They struck in Western Ukraine today. I actually grabbed I think I grabbed a video of this. Let's see. Let's see if it's this one. Angry protesters, which we love. Oh, I don't have the video. I had it, but let me see here. Hold on a second. Let me look and see. Share. As I said, we're learning this as we go on, folks. You read it. Plain Hilo. Yep, I didn't that's okay. I didn't download the new one, but there's the Yavoriv military training base in Western Ukraine was hit by a Russian airstrike. The import of that is they're only 25 kilometers from the Polish border. 25 kilometers is going to give you 15, 18 miles away from the Polish border. That's risky. And part of the concern here is that the West is obviously, Poland's part of NATO. They've got their security up. They've got their radar. And they're looking at these missiles coming in. They could be cruise missiles or something else. And they see it coming from Russia or from Russian forces in Ukraine, coming right at the Polish border. And, they stopped 50 miles before, but, you're asking for potential trouble there. It's just, anyway, it's risky. So that's why there's concern there. At least 35 people were killed, 134 wounded in that strike. The Russians also blew up a food warehouse outside of Kyiv, the capital, yesterday. And again, what I'm trying to do is give you news stories that either are so important you need to know, or that tell you something about the larger narrative of what's going on. Now, with this one, they blew up a food warehouse outside of Kyiv, the capital. And the reason is, according to the analysts, the Russians are preparing to attack Kyiv, of course. They're going to bomb the hell out of it like they're doing the other towns in Ukraine. They're going to level it. They're going to try to kill as many civilians as possible, try to scare as many civilians to leave. But of course, remember, they're not letting civilians leave. What the Russians are doing is they're basically going after the green corridors, as they're called, the humanitarian corridors. And they're making these agreements, literally, to say, hey, go ahead and, Barb Smith, by the way, thank you so much, saying, hey, we'll let the refugees out. No problem. Let's establish a humanitarian corridor. Tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., go through this corridor, down this street out of town, and we promise we won't bomb. What do the Russians do? They wait till a lot of people get in the corridor, and then they bombed. And this is the same thing they've done in Syria. So what they're trying to do now is they're hitting the food warehouses outside, frozen food warehouse outside of Kyiv, because they want to starve the population. They want to cut what they've done in other towns. They've cut off the water. They've cut off the food. They've cut off the electricity. They've cut off the heat. And mind you, this is still the middle of winter. So it's 32 degrees, it's freezing out, basically. They've cut off the heat. They're trying to kill the civilians. They're trying to break their morale, because civilians whose morale is broken will hopefully not fight back as hard. And we know the Ukrainians are amazing at fighting back. And more generally, and I'm going to get into this in a really interesting Twitter thread I read earlier, a really good analysis of what Putin's plan is. But bottom line is, Putin wants to destroy the entire country. Very bad. And I'll just say, last little scary bit on that. Reports yesterday from Ukrainian government that a number of small towns in Ukraine no longer exist. The Russians. All right. So the Russians, and I've mentioned this in some of my lives before. If you're new, that's okay. I'll kind of go over it. But the Russians are saying, Kristen Williams, by the way, thank you so much. The Russians are saying that Biden has basically given them tacit permission. Tacit meaning he didn't say it out loud, but he kind of implied it, to use chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons in Ukraine. President Biden. And what they're saying, and I've got to say, this is a concern I've had about Western messaging at this point. What they're saying, and I'm going to show you the clip of Biden in a second, is that President has said multiple times that he's concerned about World War III and that the U.S. can't get involved militarily because it'll be World War III. And of course, World War III in U.S. English, maybe in British as well, is a metaphor for the end of the world. When you say World War III, you don't just mean another world war. You mean literally the end of the world, the end of humanity. My concern up to now has been when you say that the U.S. fighting the Russians will literally end the world, then there should be nothing that justifies fighting the Russians. For example, right? Chemical weapons, biological weapons. He takes out a Ukrainian town. And again, this is my devil's advocate argument about how I think the Russians would look at this, but how NATO's looking at it too. Well, he used chemical weapons, but do we want to end the world over it? Because then what's the point? We've literally killed everybody. Don't get involved. Biological weapons, same argument. Nuclear weapons. Yeah, he bombed Kyiv. But do we want to end? He killed 3 million people. But if we get involved, it will be World War III. The world will end and we'll kill 7 billion people. I mean, do you see how this argument, even the NATO attacks, I've been a big critic of, not critic, but I've been disagreeing with folks who say, oh, NATO's safe because Article 5 of NATO says, the NATO charter that we all signed to join NATO, says that any attack on any member is an attack on all members. And therefore, if a NATO ally gets attacked, we will all get involved in the war. And I've said, will we? Because isn't it the same thing? I mean, I don't care what the NATO charter says. If I'm president of the United States and you tell me if Putin attacks Poland and I get involved, it literally is the end of the world and everybody will die in a nuclear holocaust. Well, then why would I get involved? Obviously, there's a treaty obligation, but I think a senator had said years ago, I forgot what he was referring to, but he said the Constitution is not a death pact, meaning we didn't agree to it so we'd all die. Like at some point, you throw out the treaties. Anyway, this is my concern. Let me show you what Biden said. I get where he's coming from. I'll tell you a little bit about why I think Biden said what he said, and then we'll continue.
Never faltered. But look, the idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III. Okay? Let's get it straight here, guys. That old expression, don't kid a kidder.
There we go. Actually, what I just realized, and I'm going to try it with the Instagram folks, is maybe I can put my headset, my earphones, which I don't need because I'm not listening to anything, but if I put them close enough to my mic, maybe you guys can hear it too. Biden basically said, if we get involved militarily in Ukraine, if we do anything offensive, it's World War III. Well, what I think now, and I'm not knocking Biden, what I think he's doing, and he's not wrong, but I think there's some problems here. He's trying to reassure Putin we must have some kind of an intelligence estimate, an analysis, where they told the president that Putin is either crazy or whatever, but we think he is going to use these weapons. And part of the reason he might use them is uncertainty. If he's so afraid of what the West is going, or so scared or so concerned, maybe not even scared, but so concerned about what the West is doing, we need to telegraph to him what we're doing so there's no misunderstanding, so that there's no mistakes that might lead to nuclear war. So what Biden's doing is saying, we're going to keep the sanctions, et cetera, but you need to know, no matter what you do, we're not getting involved militarily. So if you think you see us coming to attack you, we're not. Hold off. Again, I think that's not a dumb idea in principle, because sometimes having more information helps build more trust or whatever, or less distrust. But in this case, I think we're telegraphing things, and by telegraphing things, by telling somebody how far you'll go in response, for example, I don't know, if you punch me, or if you punch me, I will only laugh. So then you punch me. If you punch me, I'm going to punch you in the face. Well, then you probably won't punch me. If you punch me, I have the power to literally get you fired. Now you're definitely not punching me. Sometimes it's better to say, you know what? If you punch me, there are going to be severe repercussions. I can do a lot of damage to you, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. Sometimes that's the better path. And what some of the experts are saying, and I agree, is maybe we shouldn't be telling Putin exactly what we will and won't do, because I would argue that they're not totally wrong. Yeah, there's going to be severe repercussions, Biden said, if they use any of these weapons. But in the same speech, he said, we're not getting involved militarily because it would be the end of the world. So to me, that means severe repercussions, means more sanctions, or they get kicked out of the UN or whatever. And that doesn't help people who might get nuked in Ukraine, from my perspective. So two good stories. Yes, two positive stories. So one of them is the pregnant lady, the most famous pregnant lady in the world, just gave birth. And she's good. The kid is good. You remember at the hospital in, oh boy, I've got to remember, there's so many towns. Shoot, I'm forgetting the name of the town. It's not Melitopol, is it? No, it's not Melitopol. The town that they've been bombing the bejesus out of, where they bombed the maternity ward in Ukraine, where the Russians bombed it. If anybody remembers the name, please put it in the comments. I had it on yesterday's notes, and it's so many different towns with Kherson and Melitopol, and I want to say it's another M town, but maybe, yeah, the one on the stretcher, exactly. The woman on the stretcher getting moved out of the maternity ward. This is the town where they shut off all food, all water, all heating, and then bombed a hospital, a kid's hospital that had a maternity ward. Well, there was a Mariupol, that's it, Mariupol. I kept thinking Melitopol because it's close, Mariupol, Mariupol. So there was a really iconic photo of these like four people in dark with a stretcher. And a pregnant woman is on it, and you can see her belly. She's pregnant. Her pants are even like open and half down on the right. I mean, because you can tell she's just disheveled and hurt. There's some blood, and she kind of has almost a vacant look on her face because she's literally shell shocked. Well, the Russians attacked her. They went on their social media accounts. They claimed she was a crisis actress. They didn't use that word, but they said she's an actress. She's fake. She didn't really get hurt. And in any case, she wasn't. Facebook took down some of the posts, which was great. Who knew? Facebook does good things sometimes. And she gave birth, and she and the kid are fine. And there was a picture of the husband with him. It was really nice. So that was kind of a nice result. And the other thing, I'd mentioned this, I think, in yesterday's broadcast, but I got the video now with this software from StreamYard I can use. Check this out. So this one's fun. I say funny. Again, this may be what got me in trouble on TikTok, because I say good and funny. Good and funny are relative terms when we're talking about war, obviously. What I mean, of course, is that I'm trying to give you some positive news rather than just Ukrainians dying. So this one is really good. The Ukrainian government puts out a video, and I'll show you the video. You won't understand much of it, but you'll understand one word. I did see the reporter is on my list. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. The Ukrainian government puts out a video, and in the video is directed at Russian troops, and it basically tells them, hold on, I'm actually going to, I'm afraid if I talk over it, may not be loud enough. I'll let you guys watch it in a second. The video tells Russian troops, if you turn in your MiG fighters, call this number and defect. If you call this phone number, we will arrange for you to come to us and not get killed. Right? Because obviously, if a Russian fighter or Russian helicopter or something else approaches Ukraine or Ukrainian forces, they're going to get shot down. Call this number to let them know you want to defect. And if you bring us a MiG fighter jet, we'll give you $1 million US. If you give us a helicopter, we'll give you $500,000 US. And I mean, it's brilliant. I wonder whether they didn't get the money from us or somebody else, probably, which would be good. So, I mean, I'm sure we're doing things privately that are even more helpful than we know. But let me show you the ad really quick. My favorite is, I had a friend over yesterday when I was playing it and laughing at it. He, who doesn't speak any, Ukrainian or Russian, I mean, like, I know a little Russian. He goes, wait, I heard one word there. Let me see if you can understand the one word. Now, mind you, it's being pitched to them. I don't want to say like a used car salesman, but it's pitching to them like a pitch. Like, hey, if you turn yourself in and bring your plane, you will get $1 million. So listen to this. It's done very nicely, too. It's in Ukrainian or Russian, so,
Государственный концерн «Укроборонпром» обращается к военнослужащим вооруженных сил Российской Федерации. За каждый исправный боевой самолет воздушно-космических сил Российской Федерации концерн гарантирует вам выплату $1 миллиона США. Сумма выплаты за исправный боевой вертолет воздушно-космических сил РФ составляет $500 тысяч. Для реализации этой возможности вам нужно сдаться украинским властям вместе с вышеуказанной техникой. Ваша анонимность и личная безопасность гарантируются. Вы и ваши родные можете стать обеспеченными людьми, покинуть РФ и более никогда не выполнять преступных приказов. Вы можете стать свободными и богатыми. Частоты для связи с украинскими диспетчерами вам известны.
Is that absolutely wonderful? And my favorite, if you got it, at one point you hear them like saying the money in something, and then you hear guarantee. It's like they're selling, like, you will get $1 million guaranteed. But I love that too, guarantee. Like, well, I mean, you're a Russian soldier. You're saying, well, I'm not sure if they're going to kill me. I'm not sure if they're going to give me the money, but they did say it's a guarantee. I just think it's almost surreal. It is surreal in a way. Anyway, but I thought I say that as a good story because it made me laugh, and also it's nice to see, and I'd be really curious to see if they get any of the planes. Folks have been mentioning a American journalist was killed today in Ukraine. Brent, I say Renaud because it's a French name, but maybe it's Renaud in English if you said it that way. Renaud, R-E-N-A-U-D. He was killed in the town of Irpin, which has had a lot of fighting. I believe it's occupied. I think Irpin is occupied. He's the third foreign journalist killed in Ukraine. In the town of Melitopol. Now, the town of Melitopol was one of the first towns, I believe, not the first. First, I think, was Kherson. But Melitopol was one of the first towns to be occupied by the Russians. And they were upset with the mayor, Ivan Fyodorov, or however, whichever accent you put that on, Fyodorov, 33 years old, upset with him because he called the occupation an occupation, and he called the Russians occupiers. So they went to his office, threw a hood over his head, dragged him in the streets. He's not been heard from again. There is an update that they're going to charge him with treason, which is bad because obviously they're going to find him guilty, and being Russia, they'll probably execute him. And a new woman, a new mayor, has been put in charge, Galina Danilchenko, and she issued a statement, a video, saying the city needs to adapt to a new reality and as quickly as possible live in a new way. And I said in my video, I swear to God, it was like she's channeling Dolores Umbridge. I mean, it just is, it's having said that, one guy did mention on Twitter, and it was a good point. It is entirely possible they kidnapped her family. She may be a collaborator. She may also be a woman whose husband, wife, or whoever, and children have been kidnapped and told, we're going to kill them if you don't do a video on our behalf publicly. Knowing the Russians, knowing what they're doing, I mean, they're literally killing everybody they can, every civilian they can. They would have no problem threatening this woman's kids because they'd have no problem bombing the kids to start with. So I'm willing to give her a grain of salt. Who knows? But hopefully some of the news reports will say whether she's been known as a Russian sympathizer in the past, because then we'll know, or we'll probably know. Really scary story out of National Public Radio today. NPR is a public radio station in the States. I want to say it's like the BBC, different. Obviously, our structure is different than you guys, but it gets public funding. Very well respected. Folks on the right thinks it leans a little left, but it's a very well respected news service. And they did a further investigation into this Zaporizhia. What is it? Zaporizhzh, 2 in a row, which I think is kind of cool. IA, Zaporizhia nuclear plant. And you'll recall that last week, this was the plant the Russians were firing on that caught fire. And everyone was worried. It wasn't Chernobyl. They went after Chernobyl first. Then they went after Zaporizhia, right? Well, at the time, everyone was freaking out. Then all the experts came out and said, and I remember even some of the reporters going, see, this is why you shouldn't trust, initial news reports, because they said it wasn't dangerous at all. This isn't built like Chernobyl, which was the huge nuclear meltdown in 1986. This is totally different. It was fine. I kept thinking, I don't know, firing like mortar shells and artillery shells at a nuclear plant, I don't know, that's totally fine. A nuclear plant blows up, I'm guessing it's not such a good thing. Well, National Public Radio got a hold of the video of the attack, had some defense experts look at it, and they put out a story saying this was so much more dangerous than anybody even realized at the time. I pulled up a couple of the, I'm just going to read you a few of the paragraphs from the NPR story, if I may, because it's that good. Obviously, you can Google it yourself, but I just wanted to, the news is just, whew. So here. A thorough review of a 4-hour, 21-minute security camera video of the attack reveals that Russian forces repeatedly fired heavy weapons in the direction of the plant's massive reactor buildings, which housed dangerous nuclear fuel. Photos show that an administrative building directly in front of the reactor complex was shredded by Russian fire. And a video from inside the plant shows damage and a possible Russian shell that landed less than 250 feet, which I'm guessing is maybe 250 feet divided by 3 for meters, 80 meters from the reactor building. The security camera footage also shows Russian troops haphazardly firing rocket-propelled grenades. These are the things on the shoulder they hold, and you see at the front, there's almost a ball that gets really skinny. That's a rocket-propelled grenade, literally a grenade propelled by a rocket. The Russian troops were haphazardly firing rocket-propelled grenades into the main administration building at the plant and turning away Ukrainian firefighters, even as fire raged out of control in a nearby training video. The UN agency, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, was telling us that everything was fine. Remember, I worked at the UN and I've got issues with the UN. I used to love the UN. I don't love the UN anymore after having worked there. So IAEA at the time says not to worry about it. Immediately after the attack, IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi made reference to only a single projectile hitting a training building adjacent to the reactor complex. All the safety systems of the 6 reactors at the plant were not affected at all, he told reporters. This is now NPR. In fact, the training building took multiple strikes, and it was hardly the only part of the site to take fire from Russian forces. The security footage supports claims by Ukraine's nuclear regulator of damage at 3 other locations. The Unit 1 reactor building, because there's multiple reactors, the Unit 1 reactor building, the transformer at the Unit 6 reactor, and and mind you, when you hit transformers and power goes out, that's how you have nuclear meltdowns. That's what happened in Fukushima in Japan. The tsunami came and it knocked out the power. So all of a sudden you're not cooling the rods, and the rods are, my glasses are getting crooked. You're not cooling the rods and you have a meltdown. And it also hit the spent fuel pad, which is used to store nuclear waste. Okay, the problem with that is you've got spent fuels, nuclear fuel rods, right? The spent fuels, they're done, but they're still super duper radioactive, hot and dangerous. And they're kept in water, I think just water maybe, but constantly circulating water to cool them down over a period of years. And then once they're cooled down, you can bury them. But if they're not cooled down yet, which typically they aren't, or they wouldn't be in the water, if the electricity cuts off, the cooling shuts off, and those rods themselves can also blow up. And I'm assuming meltdown because they're superheated. They melt, goes through the floor of the plant, and you've got problems. Or it explodes into a dirty bomb, either way. It also shows ordnance from the Russians striking a high voltage line outside the plant, again, potentially taking out the power. And then the final scary thing from the story, listen to this. They interviewed a nuclear expert. This video is very disturbing, says Edwin Lyman, Director of Nuclear Power Safety at the Union of Concerned Scientists. While the types of reactors used at the plant are far safer, this is NPR, are far safer than the one that exploded in Chernobyl in 1986, the Russian attack could have triggered a meltdown similar to the kind that struck Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant in 2011, he warned. So, in fact, this was not just, everyone over. I mean, how do you overreact about someone bombing a nuclear plant, right? So this was very scary. And I've talked about this before. I I was going to say, I think the attack was on purpose. Of course the attack was on purpose. They're not idiots. Everybody knows, not everybody, but I mean, who hasn't seen a nuclear plant, right? I mean, who hasn't seen a nuclear plant? I mean, you know what they are with those cooling, the kind of, I'd say cool in a way. I mean, the cool cooling towers that are shaped like this. The Russians knew what they were attacking. There was also video released which showed that the Russians were told by the person running the plant on the radio or the wire, whatever it was, telling them, Russian fighters, stop shelling us. Russian attackers, this is a nuclear facility. You're going to get everyone killed worldwide if you attack. The Russians knew what they were doing. They didn't care. So that's nice. The Wall Street Journal, this is kind of a good story, though. The Wall Street Journal, I got a little video to show you how it works. Wall Street Journal did a story today or yesterday, I guess, because I think they're closed on Sundays, on the website that Anonymous was sharing, Anonymous, the Hackers Collective, with the web address, very simple web address. I did it. It's really cool. I'm going to show you a picture on the screen or a video on the screen of how it works. The web address is 1920.I, N as in Nancy. So 1920.I, N as in Nancy, in. And that's actually a web address. You plug it in on your phone, brings up a page, and let me show you what the page does. It brings up this web page, and I did it too fast there. Well, it'll rotate. It brings up this web page, and what happens is you can send a text message to cell phones in Russia. So here's the page. You click copy text and then send. And once you hit send, it opens up your text messaging. So here, it's going to open up my app when I hit send. Taking a second here. Or did it? Oh, it stopped. I'm sorry. Here we go. I copy text. I hit send. It automatically is going to open up my text messaging. There we go. And boom, you can enter the text messaging and you're done. Very freaking cool. Very freaking cool. And it sends a message to the Russians saying basically, you've been cheated, you've been lied to, they're not telling you the truth. Just a very interesting, I think. So that's that. What else we got here? I've got, once again, for the Instagram folks, it's 1920.in since they couldn't see the screen. So protesters in Kherson, let me see if I've got them. Yeah. The town of Kherson, which is the first town the Russians occupied in southern Ukraine. One second here. Oh yeah, this is a good, I like this video because it again.
Русский солдат! Фашистский оккупант! 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 Вы слышите, это выстрелы? Стреляет пулеметом! Фашисты оккупант! Смотрите, что творится, русские стреляют.
Yeah, gunshots and nobody even flinches. These people are, made of steel. I wanted to show you something else just in terms of the Russian disinformation. We talked about how they got my account, my live privileges banned for life on TikTok by claiming my broadcast, literally my broadcasts are the same as this, exactly what I'm doing with you guys now, that my broadcasts are hate speech against Russians. And enough of them sent it in that TikTok believed it and canceled me, which is really horrific. But anyway, we're still working. That's why I was asking you guys to see if you can put in, if you can contact TikTok for me and just say, look, I've seen this. Now you have. I've seen this guy's episodes. He's not hate speech. It's news. So what I was going to, so Russian trolls on Reddit. Check this out. So my nephew contacts me this morning and he says, you're not going to believe what the Russians did to me. So what do you mean to you? He says, I'm on Reddit and I'm in some thread that's trying to downplay, conversation that's trying to downplay what's happening in Ukraine. So and he's very well read. He's disagreeing with people. He's giving examples. What comes up next? He gets a message from Reddit. Check out this message, and I'll read it for the Instagram people. Hi there. A concerned Redditor reached out to us about you. When you're in the middle of something painful, it may feel like you don't have a lot of options, but whatever you're going through and deserve help, there are people who can help you. Somebody thought you were going to commit suicide and reported you. It's so creepy in so many ways. I mean, it's first of all just jerky, but they're just trying to disrupt people. I mean, obviously it doesn't get him kicked off of Reddit. They're not going to kick off somebody they think is going to commit suicide. They're lying, of course. I mean, literally, he was arguing with people about Russia saying, you're lying, things are bad in Ukraine. So they report him. But I think what's going on is it's almost a weird taunting you with your own mortality kind of thing. You know, I think they're playing multiple levels here. First of all, for example, it's almost a death threat in a way, because what they're doing is they're saying, oh, you know, we've told Reddit that you've clearly made clear that you're thinking of killing yourself. So if you were to die, you know, there's now going to be a paper trail, people saying, well, people did say he was suicidal. It's just creepy. It's creepy. And it just, anyway, very bothers me. But yes, this is literally what Reddit sent to my nephew this morning. Boy, these people they're just amazing. So there was that weird attack in northern Iraq last night. I'm going to try to finish up shortly. Actually, I've got a Twitter thread to tell you, and then we'll go, because we haven't gone long today. I started about 15 minutes late. Usually it's about half hour of news, and then we get to the Q&A. I started a little late because of the tech stuff. I'm obviously going to stay. Don't worry. I'm not going to just cut this off at 2:00, or 2:00 my time Eastern. But there was a weird attack in northern Iraq near a U.S. consulate, differing news as to whether it was from Iran or not, who it was from, whether it was near the consulate or not. We are not hearing about that attack this morning, which makes me think it isn't connected to Ukraine. You know, that it wasn't like Iran doing some bidding to try to distract our attention. None of the news I was watching this morning was talking about it at all, which makes me think it's now being treated as, you know, a local thing, whether or not it was intended to be us. It was a small local thing. So that's good. Now, I want to, okay, let me go through. I'm going to go through these series of tweets. And then, actually, you know what? First, I'm going to show the Zelensky thing because I think it's really sweet. I was going to show this at the end, but I'm going to show it now. President Zelensky of Ukraine, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, puts out a tweet showing him visiting troops in the hospital who were injured by the Russian. Oops. And then it shows there we go. I just think it's the sweetest thing. I mean, look at that guy. The guy's clearly pleased. You know, the president visited him. He's getting a selfie with him. Just everything about it is so, it's so what that guy, I mean, what Zelensky is, you know, anyway, I think it's a wonderful photo. I'm going to leave it up for a second because I think it's too great. Let me tell you about this Twitter thread, and then we'll go to the Q&A, because the Twitter thread I think is really important. A Twitter thread is simply like writing a short story on Twitter. The tweets are by David Rothkopf, who's a national security expert, foreign policy expert in DC. And he is, I'll take that off now. Zoom. He's writing about sort of what comes next in Ukraine. And I'm just going to summarize briefly what his tweets were. He says, Putin knows he can't take control and maintain control of Ukraine, meaning they don't have enough troops. The Ukrainians are obviously too pissed off. There's no way he can annex Ukraine. There's no way he can keep the troops there and occupy Ukraine. He can't install a government and keep troops there to keep the government in power. It's just going to take too many people. He just doesn't have it. The next best option for him, therefore, is to destroy Ukraine. By the way, I looked it up in the book. The way I see Ukraine is an alternative pronunciation. I guess everybody says Ukraine. I was brought up saying Ukraine. Actually, you know what? Probably it might be the Ukraine. Anyway, Ukraine. I say Ukraine, but I Googled it. Somebody complained. I Googled it. It's an alternative pronunciation in English. So there you go. But he says the next best option is to destroy Ukraine. And that way he can claim that he neutralized the Ukrainian threat when he speaks to the Russian people, right? The place was full of Nazis. They were full of chemical weapons, biological weapons. Look at it. It's demolished now. No more threat. He's sending a warning to his other neighbors by doing that. Every other neighbor, he says, you'll be next, right? If you challenge me, I'm going to raise you to the ground like Carthage, you know, Ukraine. And he's sending a message to the world that he can do these kind of things with impunity. And so far, I'd argue, even though he's getting sanctions, it's still kind of impunity, if you ask me. Rothkopf goes on, Putin will cross red lines in Ukraine, meaning he's going to do additional things that are so horrific, it's going to shock the world. Things that we call a red line, but the question is, will we do anything significant about it? Putin knows that he can't sustain the war indefinitely because of the economic sanctions and because of the economic sanctions, and therefore it's easier to destroy Ukraine, get it over with, and then get out. Put a little lip balm. Putin is counting on two things. One, the West won't challenge him militarily. In other words, he can destroy the entire country and the West isn't going to stop him. And two, a negotiated peace will lift the sanctions so that basically some kind of peace treaty will be reached and it'll lift all the Western sanctions and we all go on our merry way. He says, on the first point is sadly correct, that the West won't challenge him militarily. This gets into my World War III stuff that I was talking about. Second point on lifting the sanctions, he says sanctions will be lifted. He thinks sanctions will be lifted, but we have to make it clear to Putin that he won't be welcome back to the world community. He says energy sanctions still haven't happened. They can still be added. More of Putin's allies should be sanctioned, as should countries that have been aiding Russia. He says we should kick Russia out of international institutions like the UN. We must message, here we go. Our message must be that the penalties against Russia do not stop with a ceasefire. That Russia must, and I like it on this especially, he says Russia must be 100% out of Ukraine before we lift the sanctions, and they must pay restitution to Ukraine. They must help rebuild Ukraine because they are going to cause hundreds of billions of dollars, if not more, of damage to that country. And they're already causing it. And there has to be restitution. They're going to have to pay Ukraine a hell of a lot of money over a period of years before we lift the sanctions. Finally, he says Ukraine must join the EU and NATO. So I'm going to stop it there. I mean, we'll do questions now. I'm going to stop it there. As always, in principle, what I'll do is I'm looking at my screen here, and then I promise I'm gonna keep putting on my glasses and jumping in with the Instagram people who are up there on my cell phone, so I can get some of your guys' questions too. What do we got going, guys? Here, all right. That's an interesting question. I don't know. Diamonds and Jeep Gal, there's a cute name. From YouTube says all the humanitarian and defense money donations and physical weapons, what happens to those in the end? Will the Russians be able to get a hold of them? I mean, if Russia literally kills everybody in the country, then sure. I mean, I think the thought is that there's just no way they're going to get control of the country. So obviously, if just like us, right? Or us, I say, but meaning the forces of good, if the Ukrainians kill or scare off somebody in a Russian tank and the tank is still workable, the Ukrainian farmers get the tank. Same thing happens in reverse. If the Ukrainians have a tank and the Russians kill or scare away or take prisoner the person running it, then they get the tank. So, I mean, yeah, I think at this point, we've got to realize that we're trying to help stave off what I think I would call a genocide. It's a genocide in the making. You can say it's not a genocide yet, but are we on the path to genocide? Yes. Is there anything that would make you think Putin wouldn't do it? No. And does it seem like that's his plan? Yeah. Somebody asks, what benefits in Ukraine joining the EU? Well, you got to talk to Maria asked that. I mean, you got to talk to the Ukrainians about that. But I think what Rothkopf is probably saying, he didn't explain it more. What Rothkopf is probably saying is just bringing Ukraine more into the European orbit overall probably makes it safer. Somebody had told me the other day that there was some kind of a military component to the EU. I Googled it, and I know there have been a lot of proposals for a military component. The EU, we mean the European Union, the organization of European states that have gotten together and formed an economic bloc where people can travel back and forth between countries. They all use the same currency. Well, kind of different things there, but they all use the same currency. The countries that are part of it, that's the thing that Great Britain just left. Their Brexit, right? They left the EU. So, you have to leave it to the Ukrainians what the benefit is, but I think the idea is tying them in much more closely to Europe, and it helps them grow more, and it also makes an attack on them a little bit more of an attack on Europe and the rest of Europe, is my guess. Let me do a look here at Instagram. Actually, probably better without my glasses. sanctions removed when Putin is removed. Oh, that's that's one of the arguments too. I think let's see what happens with this. Somebody on Instagram said, the sanctions should only be removed when Putin's removed. That's one of the big issues. Is we're going to have to make clear, in the rest of the world, what the terms are for removing the sanctions, and we can't just do what we always do. We just say, oh, but it's important to do business with him, and we've got a lot of money involved, and our big businesses with money are lobbying to have business come back. I think it's right. I think we literally say you give up every piece of land that you've stolen, including Crimea, and you're going to owe them however many billions or hundreds of billions of dollars it's going to cost to rebuild the place, or the sanctions don't get removed, as far as I'm concerned. Because it's not just about punishing Russia and rebuilding Ukraine. You have got to send a message. This is a message sent to China, something I can't say on TikTok, but I can say here. It's a message being sent to China that if you pull this crap with Taiwan, the same thing is going to happen to you. It's a message sent to every belligerent government around the world that hopefully, no guarantees here, guys, obviously, but hopefully that if you go in and try to destroy another country, the world's going to stand up to you. One hopes that this is also a model going in the future, that it's also other places around the world, that they do this. Beck says, if the Russians say, for example, stop today, will Putin still face consequences for his actions, or will it all be forgotten? I hope not. Well, one of the interesting questions wrapped in there, which I think you were kind of getting at, is what about war crimes? We've had the experts say absolutely positively these are war crimes. The U.S. has been hedging. I don't know why, but it's bugging me a little bit. But we've been, the administration keeps saying it looks like these could be war crimes, and that's kind of as far as they go. The experts out there, all of them say several of these incidents are clearly war crimes. Now, Putin committed war crimes in Syria as well, and nobody did a thing about it. So that's an ongoing concern as what does it even mean to declare war crimes? Having said that, with Milosevic in Serbia and what was it, Karadzic, how do you pronounce it, his sort of deputy or whatever he was, or the head of the military, but they got tried for war crimes and jailed, or whatever happened to them. I think they were jailed. So you can go after people, and what the world needs to do is finally fess up that just because you run a nuclear country, doesn't mean you get away with war crimes. Because let's face it, they keep saying that what Putin is doing in Ukraine by systematically eliminating the population is exactly what he did in Syria. Well, if it's exactly what he did in Syria, then why wasn't he held accountable for Syria, right? Why didn't they investigate those war crimes? Why didn't they indict him? Why didn't they tell him, you can't go anywhere in the world ever again, or we are going to grab you and put you on trial and throw you away for life? Why? So he can be held responsible if we have the political will to hold him responsible. And I think if we have the political anger as citizens of these countries to tell our governments, no, and to tell the companies, by the way, the private companies, no, you're not getting involved there again. You are not going to go help that man grow. You're not going to take blood money, from the deaths of Ukrainians by now making money in Russia. So again, that'll be our job moving forward. Let me see more of the beep, 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 beep. And by the way, as I said, I also appreciate the donations anyway, but if you use that super chat thing, you can apparently put a question in there and it'll hold it up there for me to see. So I don't object to that either, because I'm just kind of scrolling through the questions here. I didn't have to. Maria Eriksson from Sweden. Happy I didn't have to get up after midnight here in Sweden for this chat today. Really like the discussion. Thank you. And just so you guys know, so typically during the week, I've been doing this at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern time US. As I've been warning folks, the time changed here in America yesterday. We moved the clock ahead an hour, at least in many parts of the country. Europe does not yet. So now we are 4 hours behind UTC. And yesterday were 5 hours behind UTC. So something to keep in mind. Just keep an eye on what the clock is. But typically on weekends, I'm trying to do 1 o'clock Eastern time US for this, because it gives the Europeans an easy chance, and the Americans too. And even the West Coast, California, it's 10 a.m. in California, which isn't bad. During the week, it's very difficult because a lot of our listeners are Americans. We get a lot of non-Americans too, which is great. But a lot of them are Americans. I did a poll, and people made clear that during the week, if I did 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, I would get like 20% of the people who could show up at 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm doing it at 7. I occasionally have been moving it to 6, and that's kind of a pain for the Californians, but it has permitted some more of the Europeans to be able to come, which is great. Oh, thanks, Kim. Kim Burgeons writes, I only got back on YouTube for John only. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm on all of the social media stuff because I have to for work, but I admit everyone says get off Facebook, but and I'd be curious. I am kind of curious how this is going on Facebook too, because I'm just sort of looking at I'm going to pull up, we'll do another question in a minute. I'm going to pull up my Facebook page just to have a look. Let's see. Hopefully it's showing it streaming on the top, but I have no idea. Let's see. Where's my John Aravosis? There it is, streaming. How exciting is that? This is pretty cool. I'm very happy with this app. Very neat. Yeah. This is great. Yeah, it's like I said, streaming. We're streaming to Twitter, a couple accounts on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And like 3 of my accounts on Facebook, 2 of my accounts on Twitter. This is pretty cool. I'm liking this. And it hasn't been too bad. I apologize again for the Instagram people, but I will come back to you. So what else we got here? I'm going to look here again. And the thing is, I'm also looking at the comments here on the screen because they're the ones that are feeding in from 6 different videos going out. You guys are one in Instagram, so I apologize, but I'm going to keep coming back to you too, but there's 6 coming in at once here, which is really useful. Do I think designated hitters S? Do I think that the Russians are behind the rockets that hit the U.S. consulate in Iraq? What I will say is it was a very interesting coincidence last night. I talked about this earlier, that up to 12 missiles or up to 12 rockets landed in the vicinity of the U.S. consulate in northern Iraq. It certainly was an interesting coincidence. If I were a bad guy in cahoots with Russia, I would try to get the U.S.'s attention elsewhere. I would look for some other international crisis somewhere else that diverts our attention, that perhaps diverts our resources, that maybe says, hey, we may have to move some of our fleet, our Navy closer to the Persian Gulf and not as close to the Mediterranean. I mean, obviously you can't cut across. Well, I guess you can if you go through the Suez Canal. Actually, I don't know whether our stuff can go through. I don't know whether our military, like a aircraft carrier, whether those kind of things can go through the Suez Canal or not, or whether they're too big. But in any case, it is certainly possible. It's an interesting coincidence. You also see that what Russia is doing in Ukraine, one of the reasons they're going after civilian targets and what they're trying to do a lot of times is not to kill people. Because if you severely injure somebody but don't kill them, they need medical help. That takes people, that takes time, it takes vehicles, it takes doctors, and now you've just sucked up a lot of the resources that Ukrainian government could be using to help the troops, and you're now having to use it for the citizens, right? So vehicles, medics that might have been helping the troops are now helping the citizens. Soldiers that hopefully are manning other parts of the city for defense are going to have to come, like when they bombed the maternity ward. The soldiers have got to come. They've got to come. I mean, who knows if there's paratroopers there? I mean, there's some unexploded ordnance, some unexploded bombs that the soldiers have to find and keep people away from, right? So it's a really cute way. Oh, Samantha, thank you. I will just check that out. It's a really cute way of stopping people of God, I'm not an expert on that. I'll tell you in a second here. It's a really cute way of diverting the attention and the resources away. And I got that feeling last night with the attack in the vicinity of the U.S. consulate. It just made me say, is this being done to divert our attention? Now, I'm going to pull this up because I know about it, but I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to pull it up and read a little about it for you because I have been asked by Samantha Olivieri, said, can you discuss the Holodomor? I'm going to say Holodomor. Thank you, Hannah, by the way. That was very sweet of you. Holodomor genocide of the Ukrainians under Stalin. It seems like history repeating itself. Upwards of 10 million people starved. Let me just pull up the very intro of Wikipedia. I've heard about this, but I don't actually know a lot about it myself. Holodomor is how they pronounce it. Okay, Holodomor or Holodomor, depending how you do it in Ukrainian. The Holodomor, also known as terror famine, the terror famine or the Great Famine was a famine in the Soviet Ukraine. Remember, the Soviet Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union at the time. Soviet Ukraine from 1932 to 33 that killed millions of Ukrainians. The term Holodomor emphasizes the famine's man-made and allegedly intentional aspects, such as rejection of outside aid, confiscation of all household foodstuffs, and restriction of population movement as a large part of the wider Soviet famine of 1932-33, which affected the major grain-producing areas of the country. Millions of inhabitants of Ukraine, the majority of whom were ethnic Ukrainians, died of starvation in a peacetime catastrophe unprecedented in the history of Ukraine. Since 2006, the Holodomor has been recognized by Ukraine and 15 other countries as a genocide of the Ukrainian people carried out by the Soviet government. Jesus Christ. Wow. Wow. There you go. Jeez. Anyway, and it's still, it says here, still it's a subject of academic debates, as are the causes of the famine and the intentionality of the deaths. Well, maybe, but we know enough about Russia at this point that again, you never know. There's always a chance they didn't mean to kill millions of people and starve them to death, but that's literally what they're trying to do in Ukraine right now. So maybe, but it's clearly part of their MO. So thank you for bringing that up, Samantha. I'm glad you did that. And by the way, as I said, folks, everything's free. but if you do one of those super chat things, it brings your question up and it's colored and it hides it in place, or puts it in place so I can see it, and it actually gives me a donation too, which I appreciate, because all of this I'm doing for free, so to speak. This is what I do for a living, actually. This isn't a hobby. I mean, it is a hobby, so to speak, but this is what I do for a living. No problem, Samantha. I'm happy you brought it up, actually. But I caused trouble online, and I just got really pissed off at what I was seeing in Ukraine. I only have one Ukrainian friend here. I never really knew Ukrainians very much. My family's Greek Orthodox religion. I don't really go to church and that kind of stuff, but the Greek Orthodox are part of the larger Eastern Orthodox faith that the Ukrainians are in. Thank you, Hector. That was very sweet of you. That the Ukrainians are part of and the Russians are part of. So it doesn't necessarily mean the religion is going to make you best friends, because the Russians are killing Ukrainians and they're the same religion. But nonetheless, I just really wanted to do something on this. I wanted to take my sort of media marketing, foreign policy, social media skills, and it really took off on TikTok, which is why I'm particularly annoyed that TikTok blocked me from doing lives ever again. But as we said at the very end, or soon, we can put up those email addresses for you guys. Erica, thank you as well. That was sweet. I appreciate it. But we'll put up the email addresses as well, that maybe you can contact TikTok for me. Tell them you've watched my lives elsewhere, and you can tell them whether you think they're hate speech, which is what they accused me of and banned me for life from doing these on TikTok, because the Russians trolls claimed these were hate speech. Anyway, but if you can do that, and then there's a Twitter handle, if you're on Twitter, that you can do a direct message to the TikTok support Twitter handle. And then there's a link, and actually you can send the same message, by the way, to make it easy. Just write a paragraph and copy and paste it into the email, copy and paste it into the direct message on Twitter, copy and paste it into the form. Twitter also has a form online you can fill out, like a feedback form. Any of that can help. I'd appreciate it. So what else we got here? Oh, that's good. Laura. Laura's thanking Samantha too. Or, I mean, yeah, this is good. I like, it makes me laugh a little bit because people start I'm going to go to Instagram in a second now. People sort of chat amongst themselves, and sometimes I don't get questions which always makes me laugh. Oh, somebody real quick. Sorry. Erica asked about Venmo. Let me pull up the other banner. Here it is. So I've still got to put it in my darn thing on Instagram for you guys, but I put a web address on the page for the folks on the other services. I'm pretty sure you can't click on it or anything. It's just, you'd have to sort of type it in, but it's, I can tell you guys what it is. It's beacons, plural, beacons.ai. So beacon as in Nancy S, beacons.ai/Aravosis, my last name. And it'll bring you to a page where I've got a whole bunch of different links. It shows you what my latest lives are going to be. So it shows the ones today, Instagram, YouTube, etc. It provides a couple links to donate to Ukraine, which actually I wanted to mention anyway. The Ukrainian government has set up a fund to donate to the military, to the army, and to help relief overall, for the civilians, humanitarian aid. It's all being channeled through the National Bank of Ukraine. I actually did my own, a friend recommended it, but I did my own research and found the National Bank of Ukraine's webpage. On it, they have an English version, so I clicked that, found the humanitarian buttons, so at least they're real. It is the Ukrainian government doing this, and they've set up 2 donation boxes, both with Google Pay And it was wild. I literally picked the army one because I personally, I wanted to help the battle. And I clicked the button. It pulled up a form. I put in $100. I literally pressed Google Pay, and I think it brought up my thing. And I said, yes, that's me. And that was it. And it sent my money. Blew me away. Now, there's two issues here. One, if you've got a security clearance in I would say check the law of your country. Americans, at least, if you've got a security clearance, you should not use this for donating because you're donating to a foreign government and it can cause all sorts of problems. You're supposed to declare it and all sorts of things. So go by traditional nonprofits, NGOs, if you're an American. If you're a foreigner, you know, do your own research on this. But at least for Americans, from what I've been able to find, it looks like it's totally fine for us to do. I did it. I doubt the U.S. government's going to come after us regular citizens for it. You know, just if you've got a clearance, be careful. But it's very cool. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to tell you too. So what some people have found, by the way, is that their bank throws up a warning and won't let it go through. My suspicion is it kind of makes sense. Suddenly, out of nowhere, somebody is using your credit card to send $100 to Ukraine, the middle of a war zone, you know, way on the other side of Europe. The bank is probably going, what the heck's going on? You know, are they hackers? What are they? In my case, the bank was fine. If you get a warning, maybe call your credit card and see, and just, you know, whatever the number is on the back of your card that uses Google Pay or whatever. Actually, there's Google Pay, and then there's one at the bottom just for your credit card in general. But call your credit card folks and just ask them if they canceled a transaction or something. And if they say, yeah, we did, you can tell them this one's legit. I've done it before on other stuff. This transaction is legit if you could let it go through just this once. And typically they can do it. Anyway, hopefully you can help. I just thought it was pretty cool. I liked that you were able to donate directly. That was pretty neat. What else we got here? Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Be Kind, our wonderful moderator, is mentioning that the video is archived, and YouTube archives it, Facebook archives it, Instagram archives it, Twitter. I have no idea, but we're going to hopefully find out. I'm actually going to pull up my Twitter and see if it even, I'm hoping it sent it out on my Twitter. Let's find out here. It did. There we go. Nice. It did send it out. Excellent. I don't know if Twitter, though, archives it, but the other sites do. Instagram does too. I was glad to see. They may only archive it for 30 days on Instagram, but they definitely archived yesterday's chat on Instagram, so you guys can watch it later. Mariah, thank you so much. That was very kind. You should have put a question in there, Mariah, or send me one now. I'm happy to answer a question. But what's been nice is, like, the first chat we did the other day had on YouTube. I just did YouTube first, because I didn't want to throw too many in the mix. I had never done a YouTube chat like this before. And we had like 3,000 people on YouTube watch it live total. But then overnight, another 2,000 watched it, which was really neat. And it could have been people on YouTube generally. It could have been you guys. But that's the one thing TikTok doesn't do, and they really should, is providing an archive for these videos. So that's nice. At least you'll have an archive to see it. So that's cool. And there's no way in hell I'm running for president. I don't ever want to run for office. I would love to advise a president, which somebody else said that I would like. CB Wynn said that I would love to advise a president. My suspicion is I've got too much out about me that even advising a president, I'd probably get into trouble, because I've been doing political activism and things for years, giving my opinion. And, somebody will bring it up and go, he's this, he's that. But I do enjoy it. This is deadly serious what's going on, but I very much enjoy the, and Twitch. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thanks, Chrissy, for weighing in. Chrissy says that Twitch saves the videos for 14 days for accounts that are not affiliate or partner, which I'm not. So 14 days, that's still pretty good. Because after 14 days, this is history after 14 days. My God, we can update things, but these videos could be a little old. A little more water. Yeah, just water. I drink water because I get parched during these. We'll go a little longer with the questions. It's 2:15 now, which means we've been doing about an hour, but I'll do longer with the questions. And then we can, I'll hang out a bit afterwards. Yesterday we hung out an hour. I may not hang out an hour. We'll see. But we can hang out afterwards. But as I said on the YouTube, folks, if you want to do the super chat or the stickers, either way, the super chat will let you post a question that I can. Actually, I'm going to scroll back and make sure nobody put a question that I missed. And the stickers are just a way of sending cute things on the screen like TikTok does. I think the TikTok one is even cooler. I do love the TikTok one. They've got the sorting hat that I love. Oops, let me see what we got at the bottom here. Keeping them on Substack. That's an interesting idea. Donna said, save all the videos and put them on Substack. Well, I can very easily because I don't want to get too much in the weeds here. We can talk about it maybe during the end, but Substack, you can upload videos on Substack, and that's really interesting. You know what? I will do that for my Substack list. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I've got a Substack email list that, again, a newsletter. It's free, but and I've slowed down a little bit because of the war coverage. But since I'm doing the updates all day long on TikTok and then doing these once a day, but just do a newsletter about U.S. politics overall, international politics. I'm trying to write it once or twice a week. It's free. Every other episode I try to make behind the paywall. I want to be a little careful because I'm going to probably be writing nonstop Ukraine stuff. I don't know that I want to put that behind the paywall, but nonetheless, it's a way of supporting my work. But even if you just want to subscribe, that's cool too. It's free, and you'll get, I'd say, every other newsletter. Now you might get more just because of it. Or maybe if I'm writing a long Ukraine thing, maybe I'll put half. Any case. But yeah, I will do that. I'm going to write myself a note here so I don't forget, but that's a great idea. I'm going to put my videos on Substack. Videos. Because it's a nice way to also give people a daily update, because again, I wasn't sure if people would like this, but this is good. The numbers certainly aren't the numbers we had on TikTok. What do you do? God, we were getting, I'm sorry, we'll jump back into the questions, but we were getting 5,000 people simultaneously on TikTok. That last one, when they pulled the plug, we had 5,000 people. At one time. Here it's spread over, but that's okay. And Sundays are weird too. What's interesting? I find that Monday night tends to be the best one we have, interestingly. So, Lindsay, thank you so much. That is very sweet of you and very generous. I can see the thank you. Oh, I see. It's doing, and Laura as well. I'm seeing the little, that's cute. The little thank you bowing thing. That is cute. What else we got here? Does the software you got allow sharing to TikTok? No, it does not. Apparently that depends on each program. I'm going to see how well Instagram goes. I don't want to, kick you guys off. I've only got one extra phone. I do have an iPad. God, maybe I could. I'm not sure I want 3 devices facing me, because I feel like I'm juggling. I will screw that up. But nonetheless, yeah, let's see. Worst comes to worst. Yes, I will. She's sleeping below me right now, so I can at least, when I'm done, I can pick her up as long as the Instagram folks. People are asking for a Sasha visit, my dog. So she's below. I'll give her up. She hates being picked up, but I pick her up for you guys. Sorry, let's go back to the questions again. Beep, 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 beep. Yes, people have told me about Nikki Prashini or Proshin. I will try to check that out. Yes. What other, actually, TikTok. TikTok. Instagram. What do you guys got going here? If Japan takes back the Kuril Islands, is that considered an active war on Russia? Interesting question. And did the mayor of Zaporizhia get kidnapped? I did not see Zaporizhia getting kidnapped. Was it? No, it was another town. It was another. Let me look here really quick and see. Hold on. Mayor kidnapped. Mayor kidnapped. A second mayor. Wait a minute. Okay, you may be right. Local officials disappearing, public warnings. This is the New York Times today. Ukrainian officials claims that Russian forces have abducted at least 2 mayors. Come on, guys, give me the name of a town. That'd be helpful. We know about Melitopol. We knew that. In another video, right, the Donalchenko was claiming she was in charge. Melitopol, where's the second one, guys? Come on. Yeah, Fyodorov was getting dragged away. We knew that. Okay, here we go. No, it's not saying Zaporizhia. It's saying on Sunday, meaning today, Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, accused Russian forces of abducting Yevhen Matveyev, the mayor of Dnipro-Rudne, a city of about 18,000 people in southeast Ukraine. So, not surprising that I think it's probably true. One of the things I was reading the other day was, this is from a Russian expert, this is straight out of the Russian playbook. They intentionally, they try to decapitate the governments, but they also try to go after the culture itself. They try to go after for example, the mayor of the city is not the same thing as the president or the parliament or the Congress or whatever. These are just local officials. And it's trying to freak out the city itself that they took the mayor. They took captive a woman the other day. I don't know in what town, probably here. I don't know what town, but she is the curator of a local museum. She's simply in charge of the local museum, helping pick what things to exhibit. And they basically kidnapped her. The Russians did. This is what they do in other cities. They just decapitate everything. They go after activist leaders, politicians, all the cultural people, singers, artists, everybody, and just, kill them if they can, or at the very least take them away and you don't even know where they've ever gone. So it is, that's why I say genocide. I mean, yes, it is not World War II yet, except he wants to just, we all believe he wants to destroy the country. He wants to level it to the ground. He not only, and somebody raised this point yesterday, calling them indiscriminate killings, that he's indiscriminately going after civilians is a misnomer. Putin is not indiscriminately killing civilians. He's not throwing bombs, not caring if they hit civilians. He's throwing bombs to hit civilians. He's discriminately killing civilians. It's not by accident. It's not negligent. He literally is trying to hit the civilians. He's trying to wipe out the civilians and the entire culture. To me, God, I mean, I don't know. We've got to Google genocide, but I mean, it's cultural genocide at least, and it's ethnic genocide. He's trying to just wipe out all existence of Ukraine. It's anyway. Let's see. Erica, thank you. That was sweet. CBW Wim. Laura, what are the chances? Laura Pettit, what are the chances of him being charged with crimes? In other words, Putin, I'm assuming you mean, Putin being charged with war crimes. I assume that's what you mean, Laura. If I'm wrong, write it in the comments, but I think that's what you mean. Helena, by the way, too. Thank you. That was sweet of you. Pounds. I'm going to guess the UK. Thank you. Kept rejecting your messages. Sorry about that. What is the, and then I'll get to Erica next. The chance of Putin getting war crimes. I mean, I talked about this earlier. I'm not really confident yet that Putin's going to be charged with war crimes. I mean, everyone keeps saying, the Russia experts say, that this is Putin's playbook. He did the same thing in Syria in 2016, 2017. We know he used chemical weapons. Our government said that was a red line, and then Putin crossed the red line and we did nothing about it. Alicia, thank you for that. Did nothing about it. And they say he did war crimes there. He wiped out entire towns. He killed civilians and nobody held him accountable. I am hoping that maybe this time it is so egregious what he's doing that the International Criminal Court at The Hague and the leaders of the world, I mean, the biggest countries, the biggest economies, whatever, feel that it's so bad that we don't have a choice but to go after him. But I think he's gotten out of jail free because he leads a nuclear country and nobody wants World War III. I mean, that's where that World War III BS just keeps kicking in, and it's cute. I mean, yes, we should worry about nukes, but it just gets him off the hook. I think I will say this, I am very worried about Ukraine, obviously, because Russia wants to and can destroy the country, even if they can't occupy it. But Putin has ticked people off to a degree unheard of. I mean, forget just the fact of his military showing that they're not that great, but the world has rallied in a way that I don't think any of us expected. I was hoping there would be sanctions. I figured, for example, on the SWIFT, the banking sanctions, I thought for sure some of the Europeans would say no. And initially they did. I mean, initially, I want to say it was Hungary, Italy, Cyprus, and maybe Germany. I'm not sure that were opposing to the SWIFT. I'm not sure about Germany, but the other three opposing to some of the banking sanctions. And the next day it all turned around and they were all on board. They said they wouldn't object, which was amazing. Cyprus, huge international banking system. So the Cypriots have a reason not to do the sanctions. They did. The Swiss, who are historically neutral, who don't get involved, the Swiss joined in on the banking sanctions. Unheard of for Switzerland. The Germans, upping their defense spending by 50%, letting German weapons be sold in Ukraine or be sold or given to Ukraine, weapons made in Germany, unheard of since World War II. After World War II, Whether the Germans decided, whether we all decided, I don't quite know how that was negotiated, but Germany has had I want to say a very pacifist stance, except they've been involved in NATO, but they draw the line at certain things about, getting involved in fighting abroad, having their weapons go abroad, not having their defense budget get as big. And Germany finally, and I'm sure the US and their neighbors said, we want you to. They're not looking at it going, oh my God, what are you doing rearming? But Germany increasing its defense budget 50%, my God, which also gets us to the whole issue of the 2% contribution to NATO that the country's all promised, 2% of their GDP they're supposed to be spending on the military anyway. So that's good too. But no, Putin has so brought people together that I maybe they will go after him in terms of the war crimes. Maybe they will. I mean, they've been shocking me, so far. Erica Ship asks, which country would you say would go to war with Ukraine first? Jeez. If you mean in terms of the war spreading, Erica, I mean, if I don't have it right, tell me. But I mean, at this point, people think he could surprise us. People think, oh, not Ukraine, Russia. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. I said Ukraine, but yeah. Which country? I was reading it as Russia. I was going to say Belarus if it's Ukraine. I was reading it as Russia. Which country would Russia go after next? The concern certainly is that Poland being right there on the border. I need to print out a map because I know it kind of comes up backwards for you guys. But if you pull up a map of Ukraine from Google Maps, you'll see that on the western edge of thank you, Baiba, is it? Baiba. That's a neat name. Baiba Pesika. That's a cool name. Thank you. You'll see on the map that Western Ukraine borders with Poland. And then as you go down, these are all NATO countries. Slovakia, Romania, Hungary. Hungary maybe first, then Romania. Moldova's thrown in there, not a NATO country, just another very scared country that Russia likes to dominate. But my suspicion is either he's going to try to do something else horrible in one of the other, like do even more carnage in Georgia or something like that. But Moldavia, I think it's Moldova. Yeah, Moldova is the country. Yeah, I mean he could exactly Moldova. I'm not really the expert on Moldova. I haven't really read up on that, but I do know there's been, whether it's border stuff or some land or something, he's been going after there. So that could happen. I think in a larger sense, the concern is Poland because it's right there. And you've got Belarus, their ally in the war, Poland, Ukraine, they're right there. That's an interesting question. Yeah, Trevor, I will try to get to that. You've got, so anyway, Poland is the first one, and the Baltic states, they're also worried about. The Baltic states are the 3 states in the north, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, that were part of the Soviet Union. They were just, one of the, I would say, hostage states of the Soviet Union, are now free, are now thankfully members of NATO. So at least we have a promise to go to war if they get invaded. But Putin has, the Russians have wanted them back for a long time. So there's been constant concern amongst them over the last 20 years, the Baltics. Yeah, I mean, Homer's saying he thinks the Baltics. There's been constant concern about that. That's what hold on a second. Moldova, Homer seems to know his stuff here. Transnistria was part of Moldova and is where they would partially launch from. I remember there was something going on with a strip of land in Moldova. That's why. Okay, Transnistria. And correct, Moldova is not part of NATO. But the Baltics are very scared in the north there. They're part of NATO, thank God, but they're still very worried that Putin could just, because Russia borders them on the east, Putin could just come right in. NATO wouldn't even have time to respond. And then NATO has to decide exactly that. Do we want to invoke Article 5 of the NATO Charter and have all-out war, or what? What's next, right? So the promise is that we do, but there's a lot of concern. And there's also concern. There was concern until this war. I talked to a former European defense minister and some other experts a couple of weeks ago at an event who told me, there up until the war started, this was before the war started, there was concern as to whether we could actually beat Putin in a land war in Europe. Because the West, NATO, got rid of a lot of its tanks and things like that, because once the Soviet Union ended in 1991, we had figured there was no longer a threat. There was no longer a Soviet threat. There was Russia, but we didn't think Russia was going to invade and take over Europe anymore. In a land war, sent tanks west to Germany. So we got rid of a lot of our tanks. We started focusing on international terrorism, on the U.S. worrying more about China, things like that, right? Well, now all of a sudden we've got a land war threat with Russia. and we don't really have the military equipment, enough military equipment that's meant for beating Russia in a land war. So some of the concern was whether we could even win a war, to dislodge the Russians from the Baltic states. Now, I don't know to what degree that was before this, before we saw how bad the Russian army is. I've heard people say that we could use our Navy and bomb the hell out of them from the coast. The problem is, if the Russians are on the ground in the Baltic states, we have to bomb the hell out of the Baltic states to get the Russian troops. So there's a lot of, you have a lot of potential of just what's happening in Ukraine by accident. In this case, the Russian troops are in cities and we're bombing the cities, then we're bombing cities. I mean, it gets really complicated. So anyway, that would be that's the big worry people have. Let me look at Instagram again. Well, that's the question. I mean, Lori says, what's the bloody point in NATO? Their slogan is peace, security, and freedom. They have to do something. The problem is, as we know, for the Baltic states, they have to. Whether they will, I still think is an interesting question, because in my opinion, we've established a very dangerous precedent that we are saying that engaging with Russia means the end of the world. So it then makes you go, if you're a policymaker, well, I know I have that treaty. Would I rather abide by the treaty and have the, let's say the Baltic states get invaded? Would I rather abide by the treaty and have the world end if I get involved, if you think that's what's happening, or break the treaty, don't get involved, he invades the Baltics and we do nothing, but I literally save the world, 7 billion people survive? Well, if that's your analysis, you'd let the Baltic states die. I mean, it's crazy, right? I'm not saying we do, but I'm saying to me, that's the logical extension of that argument, and I don't like it. Because exactly that. It makes me wonder what the point of NATO is. But also, I think what your question might be getting at, Lori, is what does this mean going forward? Not even forward. What does it mean for Ukraine? And I saw somebody online saying, I actually got a little ticked at him on Twitter and wrote back, but he was saying how, we can't, some expert said this, we can't get involved in Ukraine because they're not a member of NATO. Yeah, I didn't even get into Kaliningrad, but that's a good point, guys. They're not a member of NATO. We can't get involved. And I said, okay, wait. First of all, where does it say in the NATO charter that we can't get involved in countries outside of NATO? Where does it say that, right? Where does it say also that even if the NATO charter says that NATO as a bloc can't get involved outside of NATO, does it stop us legally? Does it stop the United States? Does it stop the Baltic states, Poland, France, Germany, England from getting involved in an area where they see genocide taking place? No, NATO isn't a pair of handcuffs. NATO doesn't handcuff us to stop us from helping. So, I mean, you get a lot of BS floating out there. Well, what is and isn't NATO? And I feel like this really bothers me. I'm not stupid. And what I mean by that is, and I do this in my activism work, I've done a lot of LGBT activism, other things, and I get very annoyed at people that are simply pie in the sky, Pollyanna, it's the right thing to do. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's the right thing to do, but let's figure out how to sell it to people. Let's figure out how to get the legislation passed. Let's not just say, we want X, Y, and Z, and we're not going to vote unless we get it. Let's try to figure out what we can get. Let's try to figure out how to influence people. So in other words, the point is, you've always got to, I don't know what those books, Getting to Zero, whatever the hell that book is called, that negotiating book. But the point is, you have to figure out how to get what you want, So anyway. I've been on CNN a lot before. I haven't been in a few years. Sorry, but Thick says. I used to go on a lot. It's just, what happens is sort of the producers change and then you don't go on anymore. Like I was on Joy Reid's show a lot. I would love to go back on Joy. I really like her. I think she likes me. We've had fun when I've gone on. She just hasn't had me back, but I would love to go on again. Let me see here. I prefer YouTube to TikTok, Hammett says, because I can see it on the TV. Well, that's the thing. I think, I like TikTok. I mean, parts of TikTok I like, which make it really easy. I will say, if I were watching it, even this now, I will say I don't like my backdrop. I think it's kind of more fun when I do it in my room, but it's easier for me to type on my computer because I've got, rather than my laptop where I feel like I'm scrunched in. And it's, what was I going to say? I'm getting tired. See, now I'm getting tired. So my mind is slipping a little bit. We'll do a little more. And then I think we'll just get into chat, because the chat I can do more easily, just like fun shooting the breeze. But after about an hour, 15 minutes of thinking this stuff, not thinking, because you're thinking through it, but you're also trying to present to you guys. So there is a bit of a performance. It's a bit like giving a speech since no one else is speaking. So let me do one more question, because otherwise I'm just going to get too exhausted. And then folks who want to leave can leave. The rest of you who want to hang out, I am happy to hang out for a bit, and we'll just chat in general. As I've said before, please do follow me on every little device you're on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, in general for my stuff, but also for any other creators you follow or any other people you follow you like. It really helps to share their stuff on social media. It helps to like it. The easiest thing you can do is like. If you see somebody's videos, I don't even know with this, I guess there's a like button probably. I'm looking at it different somewhere else. Hit the like button. If you're on TikTok, hit the like button, right? Twitter, there's a like. Almost all of these services do. Facebook does too. Always hit like. I'm always surprised, Facebook especially. Now, Facebook, part of the problem is that all of these services will kind of bury your content. Unless people show interest, they bury it. So that by not clicking the like button, if you like stuff, those creators, you might not even see their stuff. Like TikTok, for example, in the last week, people, before I got banned, people were telling me that they weren't seeing my stuff as much. They were like, your stuff isn't popping up in my page as much. And I'd had the same thing happen on Facebook years ago. All of a sudden, Facebook decided my posts were doing a little too well. And I guess they wanted me to buy ads or I don't know what, but suddenly my post no longer popped up in people's feeds, people who are following me. So you are helping all of the creators you like I said, by following them and liking them. So just try to do that if you can. Well, because you know what? No, you know what I'm going to do? Somebody had asked, I don't know if it was on Instagram, but somebody had asked sort of what the likely outcome is. That's really interesting. Let's finish with that. Let's finish with, I say finish. And then, like I said, we can hang out, and I don't mind doing some of the politics, but it's really exhausting. So I don't want to burn out doing this. I want to keep doing it every day. So I don't want to do much more than an hour of the really heavy political stuff. Cause also then I want to take my dog out a little bit, although it's cold today in DC, but I want to watch the news and sort of get up to date for tomorrow's, which we'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow we will do at 6 p.m. Eastern time, US, because I want to do it a little bit earlier for the Europeans. I know that hurts some of the Americans, but with the time change, UTC is now only 4 hours ahead. So that means for some of you Europeans, that'll be you're even a little closer to our time zone. So it might make it a little bit earlier in the evening. I just want to mix it up a little bit because we do have a lot of Europeans. I'll do what I did last time, sometimes 6, sometimes 7. I'll let you know the day before. I hate to change the time, but I want to make it a little easier for folks. And again, I do see all the hearts on Instagram. Thank you for that. So, where does this all end? I really agree with Rothkopf, who was saying that, Putin can't win. So the thinking is, as I said, Putin can't win. That's the one problem with this too, is with my good mic, I can't sit back like I like. Oops. And I pulled my mic off of you guys. I can't sit back the way I like. Oops. I can't sit back the way I like, because then, as you notice, when I get back, the volume really drops. The mic is so good that it's literally like a $500 mic setup. It's fabulous, but it's so good that it really isolates the sound. So you won't hear the noise around me. I've got really tall ceilings. You won't hear an echo. Now, you've got a different mic, although this is still a pretty good mic. I'm guessing the Instagram folks are getting a bit of the reverb, a bit of the echo from my tall ceilings. You guys on the rest of it don't, because the mic is so good. It's really nice. But it also means if I step away and try to talk loudly, you still won't hear me. Like if I put the mic up here, all of a sudden I disappear. It's like it's that good of a mic at just paying attention what's near it. So anyway, I won't be using it on the other laptop because it's too hard. I've got it on a boom and everything else. So anyway, where does it all end? I don't disagree with the experts on this. Putin can't hold Ukraine. We've seen that. You know what I mean? He doesn't have enough troops. He's got 200,000 troops. The experts I saw said he needs 700,000 troops in order to hold Ukraine, in order to, to dominate it, to occupy it, to annex it. Can't do that. He certainly has enough firepower to destroy the place. And I think he knows that, and I think he's doing. Sorry, a little sip of coffee. I forgot I still had coffee here. And that's one of the other mugs. Atlanta. This was after they did the Scotland mugs. They had somebody doing the Scotland ones that was amazing in all the cities. Then they got a little crappier. I liked the old Starbucks mugs. But Putin clearly will go scorched earth. He clearly, I think, will destroy Ukraine, because he'll say, I don't think he was kidding. He was saying denazify, which was lying. But what he was saying was, I want to eliminate any threat to Russia. Now, mind you, what threat? what threat is there from Ukraine? Eliminate any threat, which means killing as many people as possible, bomb it into the Stone Age so that the country just has no money left. Economically, they've lost all their industries. They become a third world. I mean, I don't even want to say developing country because they won't be developing. They will be a third world country. They will have nothing left, no industry, nothing, no buildings. The cost of rebuilding will be so extensive. It'll take them decades. That's what I think he wants to do. And the question then becomes, what does the West do next? I mean, and honestly, what is still a wild card is, will there be a peace treaty? If there is, Putin keeps thinking he's going to get Ukraine to sign off legally on Crimea, which he stole back in 2014 from the Ukrainians. He thinks he's going to get the Ukrainians to promise that, oh yeah, we just give it away to you now, it's yours. He's going to ask for the land in the east. I could guarantee you he's going to ask for a land corridor. Now, this may be opposite on the screen, but let's pretend that's east. But at least for me, eastern Ukraine, Russia. Right inside, you've got these two little breakaway provinces that I don't even like to call breakaway provinces. Putin's been funding, insurgents there, basically. He's going to declare those at least independent, part of Russia. He's going to want a corridor between them on the south and the Black Sea to Crimea, the part of Ukraine that he already stole. So when you get a land corridor, then it can connect Crimea by land to Russia. He's going to demand all that stuff. Can the Ukrainians agree? I don't think they can. I mean, I don't know. I realize, depending what situation they're in, but if I were Ukrainian, I mean, even if I were beaten to bejesus, I still feel like, you know what? If the option was a guerrilla war and we just spend 10 years, destroying, I don't know. I think I would stick with the guerrilla war, but they've got to decide that. It's really tough, what they do next. But he's clearly going to make demands. And as I said earlier, then the question becomes for the West and for the international community overall, what sanctions are we willing to keep on him? And actually, we haven't done the oil sanctions yet. Oil and gas sanctions would be huge. That's where Putin's getting his money from. The U.S. doesn't import very much oil and gas from Russia. Europe does. I think I saw maybe 30% of Europe's energy overall, and certainly 40% of Germany's comes from Russia. So it's a big deal. It is not just a big deal for Russia. It's a big deal for Germany if they mean... I'll tell you guerrilla war in a second. That's funny. Somebody asked. I keep thinking some of the English translations and things too, but also I'll tell you that one sec. Anyway, if we can cut them off from oil and gas sales, that would be huge, but it would have a huge impact on Europe. So that's going to remain to be seen. So sorry, but Moonmia just asked what a guerrilla war is. Guerrilla war comes from, I'm assuming it's the Spanish guerrilla or guerrilla, as we sort of say in Argentina, which is a fighter. And a guerrilla war means you are not fighting against the government anymore. You are fighting against insurgents. You're fighting against, what's the word I'm looking? I don't want to say terrorists, but you kind of do it that way. It is literally if Russia were to invade America and take over America, and I'm still here, I would organize with a group of partisans. I would organize with a group of people, and there would be Russia controlling my country. We would be occupied, but there would be a secret network of us working together, and we'd be sharing weapons, and we'd be sharing strategy, and we would make plans to blow up a power plant next week on the corner. We'd make plans to use some rudimentary bombs to blow up a Russian headquarters down the street. Right? That's a guerrilla war. It's fighting. The resistance in France, I would call a guerrilla war. I think that's what I would call militias. But even militias is kind of a weird word. I mean, here in the States, they're used. Militia can be kind of weird people on the far right. It can also be like military, but it just means you're not fighting against a government. You're fighting against sort of individual people who are organized. Like the French in World War II is probably the best example. Yeah. You had the French resistance, which was this underground of French people that they couldn't openly fight or they'd be killed, but they had to fight quietly and privately. And the Germans never knew. You get it now? Yeah, I'm explaining too much. Thanks, Mia. As long as you get it now. The Germans kind of never knew who they were fighting, but it's hard and it's dangerous because one person gets arrested and then they'll torture them to find out who else is working with them. So it's a very detailed thing. Or well, the IRA. I mean, it's something IRA depends who you talk to, I suppose. But yeah, same concept though with the IRA in the sense of it's sort of this not governmental body. All right, guys, I will do one more question and then we're going to call it quits. Not call it quits, but then I'm going to hang out. Anything else here? Oh, hey, Finland, just so you guys are there. We're worried about Finland too, actually. He could go after Finland. Finland, let me finish with that, actually. Finland and Sweden are in a weird position because they're not members of NATO, but Putin, the Russians have eyes on them too. And the question, exactly, Red Dawn, the question becomes what happens if the Russians go after Sweden? They try to take Gotland, this island of Sweden's. What happens if they try to go after Finland, which they tried to do in World War II? And the Finns kicked their butt, at least for a good long while, famously. They're not members of NATO. Do we then start to do the same silly analysis again where we say, well, attacking Sweden, occupying Sweden and annexing it is bad. Occupying Finland and annexing it is bad, but they're not members of NATO and we don't want World War III. I mean, that crazy World War III argument can pop up everywhere. So I guess I will close by saying maybe instead of World War III, we should be talking more about World War II, and I don't claim to be an expert on World War II, but I do know that we had a lot of appeasement going on. We had, Finns are great. Norwegian military apparently is kick-ass too. A NATO friend told me Norway's military is scary good. Scary good. But yeah, the Finns were amazing. But I was looking, this is the problem. I look at the comments and then I lose track of what I'm saying. But what were we saying? With where we go from here, NATO, Finland, Sweden. Oh, guys, I was going to close with this, and I totally forgot what I was closing with, guys. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm tired. Norway supposedly is really badass. All right, guys, let's just wrap it up. Let's just wrap it up. I'll hang a few minutes and we can chat. Just chat like friendly chat. Thank you to the Instagram people. I'll leave you on. The hearts are coming from Instagram. Thank you, and the waves. But yeah, we can just chat a little bit here just for chat's sake. But I maybe try to not do too much. Yeah, Norway is in NATO, correct? I don't want to do too much politics more because it's just, I guess it gets exhausting. But I think this worked. This is great. This seems to have worked well. I like this using this program for doing it. It's good, and hopefully it worked well on all the different services. A little scary. I put the picture of Sasha up in the corner there, trying to make it my, I'm trying to use that picture as my calling card, so to speak, for the different, like the Venmo and all those kind of different places where they can take a picture so that at least you'll see it. And there's one more thing that says, oh yeah, it's him. So, and that might even be, no, that isn't my Twitter account. My Twitter account, my main account, which is Aravosis, my last name, uses another picture of me with Sasha. But I'm into crypto and I like crypto. So it's got her sitting in my lap and the little laser eyes is this crypto meme you do. And I thought on me, it's weird, but I have Sasha with laser eyes. Sasha is 12 years old, which is pretty wild. Thank God she's hanging in there. She's a little dog. So in principle, she can make it to 15, 18. I hope to God. But knock on wood, my poor sister. My sister's 17 and a half year old or 18-year-old Yorkie Poo finally has dementia and she's got to put her to sleep next week. And she's just a wreck. I mean, I can't even having them for this long. It gets me emotional even talking about Sasha, and Sasha's okay. I get it. I loved dogs as a kid, but I get it now. I've been leaning on my hand and now I'm red. I get that thing where your face turns red when you lean on it. It's really, oops, I'm covering her up for now. They become your family. I get it now. I mean, I loved animals. I guess I always thought it was a little weird. Some people who would really dote on their animals. Having a dog as an adult is a totally other experience than as a kid because you've got to take care of them. Maria asked if I thought of making a podcast. I have a podcast that we're probably going to wrap up soon. We've been doing it for 4 years. It just never took off. We get like 2,000 people listening week to each episode via everywhere, which is okay, but not great. We had like a pay service. We have a pay service on Patreon. It's got 200 subscribers. It's never gone beyond that. It's been going on for 4 years. And I think we haven't gone public about it yet, but I think we're thinking we're probably going to close it down because it's just been 4 years. We're tired of it. I'm going to see what was exciting for me was the TikToks because the individual TikTok videos of mine have been doing very well. I'm still on TikTok. Go and check it out. My name is the same here. I'm Aravosis on TikTok as well. There are a number of fake accounts set up that TikTok refuses to take down. don't even get me started on that. But you'll know my account because my account's the one with 360,000 or so followers, and the other accounts have no followers. So that's easy. But check it out on TikTok. But it really has been interesting to me how much this news format with Ukraine has been interesting to people. And I like with TikTok, especially doing the quick updates, people have been loving that. They're getting 50,000 views, 100,000 views. It's been amazing. So that's why I like doing these lives too. So I don't know, Substack, I am doing the Substack again. The last couple of weeks I haven't done as much. Substack's okay, but the same problem. Growing is really hard. Again, maybe since I'm doing these things, I could be tapping into a larger audience. So I do actually have the Substack link in my, and again, for the Instagram people, it's Beacons, Beacons, Nancy, beacons.ai/Aravosis. You can find the links for everything, including my Substack. It's, you could definitely join my Substack. But same kind of thing. Only 50 people have been subscribing. I've had it around for a year. I've got 50 people paying to be on it. That's it. It's okay. But all of these things together, I'm doing for a living. Like I don't have a job, and then I do this. My job is, blog that I'm not really doing anything on anymore, but this with you guys, my podcast, my Substack, all of these different things, trying to make it sort of enough money to pull it together. And I think now with this, and again, we're not talking politics, or we're not talking Ukraine anymore. Now we're in just the us chatting part of the show. This at least presents an opportunity where I'm tapping into. Oh, Alicia, thank you. I didn't see that. Thank you so much. I wasn't looking at the comments. This has allowed me to tap into a larger audience, or maybe build a larger community that maybe then could make sense using this with Substack or something like that. One thing that really worries me with TikTok overall is, they've done this to a lot of people. And I feel like the kind of stuff I do probably is safer on YouTube than TikTok. I don't think I'm going to be doing stuff that YouTube is going to get too upset about. Whereas TikTok, God only knows, trying to get my chapstick out again, which friend of China you're going to offend next. It's weird. And I don't want to, I've got 360,000 followers, which is amazing. I was thinking of trying to build it to 1 million if I could, but it's like the old joke of, there was an old joke about, like, Argentina would say about being in debt. And the joke was, if I owe you, okay, this was Argentina saying, if I owe you to a bank, if I owe the bank $1 million, I'm in trouble. If I owe the bank $1 billion with a B, the bank's in trouble. And I feel like, the more followers I get, the more dangerous it is for me that TikTok kind of owns me and can just yank it. And there's no way for me to get the followers off of there. So that's really, that's an issue, but we'll see. I'm really fascinated by this. I'm fascinated by this whole thing we're doing. And I'm fascinated people, this is definitely going slower. Like I said, the TikTok, my God, we had 5,000 people simultaneously. The biggest we had was 760 or so the other night. I say simultaneously, meaning at one time, the number of people live with us was 5,000 on TikTok. That's pretty damn good, But again, I hear you. I'm reading, Hammett was saying, if you grew your TikTok, then you can grow your YouTube. TikTok numbers are inflated. Oh, that's interesting. Really? Well, TikTok numbers are clearly larger, but it does make me wonder. It does make me wonder. I will say, TikTok, I do know that some of those numbers are real because, like, for example, in the last week, I had 5 different people come up to me who recognized me from TikTok. It was crazy. I haven't had that happen in 20 years. Like when my blog was really big, I had a really big blog, political blog in the 2000s, and people would recognize me on the street. I haven't had that happen since. TikTok, 5 people in the last week. So clearly there is a reach that TikTok has. Be Kind is sharing in the comments on YouTube. So anybody who's here, if you want to go over to my YouTube, you can check the comments there. And she's sharing email addresses that you can use to contact TikTok to beg them to reinstate my live status. They canceled my live. That's how you can reference it. They banned me from live forever because they claimed that these broadcasts like I just did are hate speech. And it clearly was the Russian trolls complaining that this is hate speech against Russia. It's, they've got to find a way of dealing with this. They really do. But anyway, but yes, the videos will be archived, which is good. Instagram too. Yeah, I think we pretty much said everybody. I think everybody. YouTube definitely archives. Facebook my post should just stay up. Instagram for sure archives. Twitch, somebody was saying with Twitch that it stays up for 2 weeks, which is still good. I'll be curious to kind of see if anybody even looked at it on Twitch. I have no idea. Oh, and thank you, Be Kind, the moderator. She's putting out other ways of contacting me. Yeah, my Venmo is at Aravosis. My Cash App is, I never knew that's how Cash App does it. Cash App is $Aravosis. And I just set up a PayPal.me just to tell you guys. Let me look. I think I know what it is. PayPal.me. So you can do like a short address. PayPal.me is, yeah, my PayPal.me is, there it is, John Aravosis. And you'll see the cute little picture of Sasha and me again. So PayPal.me/John Aravosis, one word. And again, I don't want to dwell on the money thing, but the reason I mention the money is just because like this is literally what I do for a living, and it's what I want to do. Like if it's just been very difficult trying to raise enough money to do this kind of work, which again is why I was hoping with TikTok to really build such a large audience and then figure out, do you start a Discord community? Because some of my my crypto guys who I love have started their own crypto community. And it's nice. It's $25 a month. And it's a community, which is nice, but also it's a lot of really interesting analysis, which I enjoy. And the question becomes eventually, would something like this become daily for a paying community? I don't know, but it'd be nice if there was some way to take all of this and, make a little, I say a media empire, but meaning a media empire where you're doing good and you're crowdfunding in essence, would be kind of cool. And you don't have to worry about saying anything about China, lest ye be banned. Yeah, the next live I'm going to do is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time US, which is 1800 hours. So that means 18, 19, 20, 20, 22, 2200 hours UTC. No, 18. Yeah, 1800 plus 4. So that's 2200 UTC is the next one. Yes. Is the next one I'll be doing tomorrow. You can, I'll still do all of the, I'll do Instagram. Let's see how the Instagram is going. I am getting fewer people on there, but a lot of you I can see are joining and everything. So I still want to keep trying the Instagram. Thank you for the waves. And it's not that hard. I mean, I just put it up there and, it's not that difficult to do. But yeah, I'll still, it's easy to sort of broadcast on all this. God, what is a crypto community? Oh God. By crypto community, I mean people that are interested in the whole concept of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, those kind of things, who are interested in it, who follow it, who read up on it. I am not an expert. I know a lot about it, but I'm not an expert. There are people who are way more expert because you can have a really strong technical expertise where they've got ideas. I keep leaning. I'm laughing because I keep leaning on my face. Every time I lean, it gets a little redder. So there are a lot of people interested in it, people who invest in it, and also people who are experts in using it to do useful things like money transfer, international transfers for people to, what do you call it? When people, my grandfathers did this when they were young, where they live abroad, they make money and they send the money back home to family. My grandfathers from Greece did this. And a lot of immigrants today do it, or migrants or whomever. Latin Americans, Central Americans in America, they'll come, maybe the fathers come to work here, or even the mothers, they make money and they send money back home to people. Well, doing that with cryptocurrency can be a lot cheaper. I mean, the cost can be next to nothing. Whereas you might pay 10% or something going to some local place to wire the money. You're going to pay, if you're lucky, you might pay $1 by doing it via crypto. So it's very complicated thing. I know a lot about it, but it's still way over my head. So I will look here. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I should do. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't even think of that. So I will do that. Sorry, somebody on Instagram says I ought to make a video that provides all my usernames on all platforms. That's a really interesting idea. Usernames, all platforms. I think YouTube might have a place where I entered a number of my platforms, but just having a video. I mean, on YouTube, I can make it sticky. I don't know whether I can make it sticky on Instagram, but I can see whether it's the kind of thing that I can do the video and just have it sit there. And that way you guys know where to find me elsewhere. That would be useful. I agree. And I do a lot of photos. I mean, TikTok trolls. Oh my God, TikTok trolls are out of freaking control. I mean, it's horrific. I have to spend so much and Alicia, Alicia, you sent too. Thank you. I appreciate that. I have to spend so much time on TikTok. And again, I've got moderators helping there. One of the moderators, I think, ended up being a Russian. That was really helpful. So they were banning people. It was ridiculous. The Russians just, amazing. But just the comments, like I try to weigh in on the comments because I think it's the nice thing to do, because you guys, this is funny. Every time I'm leaning on my cheek, I'm getting redder and redder. Like I've got makeup on my face. This is funny. I've always been like this though, where like I've had that, it's called dermatographia or something, where basically if you just rub my skin, I'll get a red mark on it, which is, it might even be a sign of the histamine. My little scratch is showing up. Histamine, because I have allergies and stuff. So whether it's the histamine or whatever, but it's very funny. So I've got to, now I know it happens. I probably am in meetings doing this and then standing up with like rouge, as the old ladies used to call it, all over my face, lipstick on my face from the grandma. Anyway, oh, thank you. Sorry, Jesse wrote, "Hey, John, going about my day, but just wanted to tell you, you were the only person off TikTok to pull me to a different platform just to join a live. Thank you." And B12, the same thing. Thank you. Well, the thing is, I have to admit, and like with podcasting, I've been podcasting for 4 years, but I don't really listen to podcasts. I've always worked, other than my stint at the UN, I've always worked at home for the last 17, 18 years, however long it's been, or longer. Oh God, I say 18 years. It's been since 1997. That's 25 years. Not 18 anymore. Yeah, I've been working at home for myself, so it's kind of weird. Like I don't enjoy listening to podcasts or things like that, because literally I feel like I'm sitting there kind of going, I'm not walking anywhere. I guess I could do it walking Sasha. I could do that. So that I don't really listen. I don't watch a lot of YouTubes. What I found is I've been actually enjoying, again, TikTok. I've been enjoying the quickness of TikTok. Because I'll follow, there's renegade science teacher or whatever his name is, Forrest, who's just fascinating. He's just this science teacher who just is a compelling, sweet, wonderful guy who loves science, and he makes you love it by talking about it, which I just love. And I always mention, I'm giving these guys free promos every time. Jew Crazy, who are absolutely hilarious. Erica, thank you. Yeah, I should. Erica, by the way, Erica just asked if I could do a live about my time at the UN. I think I will. I have to read my what are the agreements called? I'm tired and I'm forgetting. What's it called when you sign a settlement with somebody? I have to read my agreement I signed when I left in exchange for a sizable amount of money because it was such a horrific experience. They paid me to leave the UN, but I think I could go public, and because I think they didn't put anything in there that said I can't, non-disparagement or whatever. Horrific experience working at the UN. Yeah, horrific. A horrible place. I'll talk about it another time, but just to say that a non-disclosure. Yeah, but it wasn't a non-disclosure though, because it was actually the agreement itself. It was the agreement of, I'm going to leave, they're going to pay me this kind of thing. It was like because I basically went after them legally. And even though you can't sue an international organization, they care about their reputation. And I knew that. And I went after them for and it wasn't just me. They treat their staff so horribly. I mean, my staff would come out of her office crying. One day she had a woman up against the wall with glass windows. And who does this with glass windows? A woman, petite, just to add to it. I mean, so as somebody who wasn't domineering, this small woman up against the wall, and she's got her hands like this, and she's literally against the wall. I'm pulling my mic off. She's literally against the wall while my boss is just talking, and you're seeing through the window, and she's doing this to the woman. And I mean, she must be 6 inches from her face. I should have gotten that one on video. Horrific human being, bully. I've never been more bullied I literally had never been that bullied in my life, but it's the whole organization. It's not just her. The boss, the management class is horrific. They're paranoid. They're afraid of losing their jobs at any moment. Everyone in the management class up are basically a-holes. They're just, imagine the nastiest cutthroat people who are also scared to death of everyone coming after them. So they become even bigger a-holes, right? And the staff below you who work for you, 90% of them are spoiled brats, absolute spoiled brats. I had staffers tell me, I had a consultant, mind you, and you got to renew their contract every 3 months, their contract. The consultant had the nerve to say to me, she came up with an idea during one of our team meetings, and I'm trying to be like Mr. Friendly team guy. And I said, you know what? That's a really neat idea. I'd like you to kind of explore it for us. No, I don't think so. That's actually your job. I was speechless. I was absolutely freaking speechless. But a consultant, imagine any job you're at. I don't know how it works in Europe, in America or South America. In America, you don't get to say that crap to your boss at a job. And you certainly wouldn't say it if you were a consultant, because it means you just lose your job. She literally said it to me. My tech guy, like the tech guy, he wrote me an email and said he was no longer, every 2 weeks, because I had a big staff, like 13 people. Every 2 weeks, and I'm going to stop after this because the UN stuff is very negative. Every 2 weeks, I would meet with all the staff every 2 weeks. We get half an hour. So one of them half an hour, another one half an hour. Anything they want to talk about. If we have nothing to talk about, we let it go. It's just shoot the breeze and just bring up any issues, whatever. He decided that he no longer found our meetings productive. So he sent me an email and said, I will no longer be meeting with you. I mean, this is not optional. I will no longer be meeting with you because this is not productive. I do not find it useful. And in the future, I will simply send you a paragraph about what I'm working on. I asked my boss, who was the communications director at UNDP at the time, 2015. You can Google her. She goes, well, I can't help you. She was trying to basically just undermine. Imagine telling your boss this and going, okay, what do I do? Like, I'm new here. This is crazy. She wouldn't help. So he just stopped coming to meetings. I mean, they're horrific people. Anyway, all right, stop the UN thing. It's been 7 years and I'm still this pissed off about it. I mean, I've never been that traumatized in my life from anything. It still blows my mind. So much money, they get overpaid. You know, I think I was paid what I'm worth, even a little less probably. But the kids working under me who were just brats in their 20s and 30s were getting $130,000 a year, pretty much tax-free. And I don't care if you're in New York or not, $130,000 a year tax-free, you're doing fine. And to be making that kind of money and and they hate Americans too. And they would vocally talk about how they hated America. I mean, and that was a big strike against you too. Part of people being rude to you was just, you're an American. It's just okay. The last thing I'll say, not just Americans, at staff meetings, they would make homophobic jokes about Arabs. We had one staff meeting where a staffer had just gotten back from the Middle East. And they say, well, you're blonde. I even wrote down like the transcript. I was so pissed off. Mind you, a staff meeting of 30 people with the boss, the communications director of UNDP in 2015. And people are literally sitting there saying, because he's blonde and a guy in his 20s, well, you're lucky you didn't get taken by some Arab sheikh. And they're saying it wrong, like it's supposed to be sheik. Some Arab sheikh. He would have made you his boy and kidnapped you. So I'm like, okay, so now it's like anti-Arab bigotry, but also homophobic. And then they start having a discussion. No, it's not sheikh. It's not chic. It's because I say Arab sheikh. That's how I've learned it. It's sheikh, like Shake Shack. And they're all joking about Shake Shack. And I'm looking around this table with my big boss sitting there and just going, oh my God, this is a staff meeting? And the best part is these are the people who give the money to fund the organization. These Arab countries are like some of the biggest funders. And their funding is optional. They don't have to give it. Second time, and my big boss was not there, but some of the other staff are sitting around talking about a fundraiser. And I'd written it down at the time. I mean, I've got it, whoever it was. Somebody, finance minister from one of the Gulf countries, is obese. And they're joking about him being at a fundraiser for them. And they're joking about him being so fat that he looks like he brought all of his money for us with him. And there's a woman from Saudi Arabia working in our office who's 6 feet behind them as they're talking about the obese Arabs and all their money and how we're going to take it. And again, I'm going, we're in an office setting, people. Are you okay? Stop. See what you did to me? You got me off, Audrey. You got me on my angry tangent about the dysfunctional UN. I am telling you, the problem is, and we say you get fired, but I moved to New York for this. I had an apartment that was costing me $3,100 a month. I had a year-long lease. This was my money. I moved cross country. Like you've gone through so much trouble that then you go, if I lose the job, what am I going to do? Ask my parents, or do I have to cash out my retirement account? Remember, this is America where pensions don't exist anymore. Do I have to cash out my retirement account? You end up sticking with it. She berated me for going to a family funeral. I got it all written down. Happy to do it in an hour-long talk about the UN. I think we'll do it that way because that way too, it won't be anybody who gets depressed with me talking. You see, I'm already losing Beth. Sorry, Beth. Anybody who gets depressed when I talk about it will have opted in for the depression. So no more about the evil UN. Forget about that. So Anything else fun we can talk about? Otherwise, it is 3:10. I don't mind closing up soon because we've been going almost 2 hours. Angela, thank you for that. That's sweet of you. Thank you. I was rambling and I didn't even see it. So thank you. Oh, hey, Iceland, Sigrun. So actually, just tell me again. So where is everybody from now? Just to let me know, and I'll go look at the Instagrams too. Since at the beginning, I was getting everything set up and I didn't get to really see. So Sigrun, oops. This is the problem. I keep knocking my Instagram microphone off because I am Greek and we talk with our hands. Where are the rest of you guys from? I'll talk about Stevens another time. We can do about a work thing. What's for dinner? I may even just put a pizza in the oven. Texas, San Francisco Bay. What are we doing here from England? Oh, cool. On the Instagram, we got England, Chapel Hill. So I will look up at Instagram, although I think we're pretty small. You're a small, diehard crowd on Instagram right now, I think. Appreciate you guys, Philadelphia. Appreciate you guys hanging out. You aren't too many. You're almost a baker's dozen there. California, Little Rock, Ontario, Portland, Sweden, Canada. I laugh at the Canadians. I don't want to offend you, but this was a very funny clip. And it actually is the way Americans often think of Florida. Nice. People think of Canada, and it's not nice, but well, there's something kind of nice about it. But Goldie Hawn in the movie, it's not called Diplomat, is it? What was the Goldie Hawn movie where she saves like some Arab emirate or king or something, and almost going to get hit by a car or whatever. And she, the State Department, to thank her, appoints her as ambassador to a foreign country. And it's not called Diplomat. It's some funny name like that. If you guys remember what it is, somebody put it in here, the Goldie Hawn movie. Well, there's a scene in there. Oh, the Facebook Live terminated. Interesting. Maybe it only goes a certain period of time or something. Huh. Interesting. I don't know how that, who knows? Maybe it only goes a certain period of time on Facebook. It might be. Or the Russians complained and got it terminated. I'll go to Facebook after this and see if I've got some goofy complaint or something. Actually, I'm going to look as we're talking about this. So Goldie Hawn, she's in this movie. She's playing a foreign diplomat or U.S. diplomat who gets the job because she's protocol. There we go. Protocol. Thank you, designated hitters. Protocol. And she gets the job because she saved this Arab king or somebody in a car accident, but she's a total ditz. And she's at a cocktail party. And they ask her, oh, well, Miss So-and-so, have you been abroad much? Have you been abroad before? And she goes, no, not at all. I mean, other than Canada, but it doesn't really count because it's attached. And basically, I mean, it's attached to America, so it doesn't really count like going abroad. And Americans kind of did have that feeling, though, like going to Mexico and Canada didn't feel like going abroad. For us, going abroad is going to Europe. That's like the American dream of going abroad. It isn't. It just Canada. And I will say this, Montreal. I still haven't been to Montreal. I love Canada. I've been several times, and I love the Canadians. That's what I'm saying. There's also an affection to it because we really like Canadians. So the fact that it annoys Canadians that we think of them like us, from our perspective, it's not ennui or boredom. It's more we like you guys, and that we just feel we do. Like you meet Canadians, and until you hear them say a certain word, you think they're American. I thought one of my friends for years I thought was American. He was born and raised in Canada. And he said something once, and I said, wait a minute, where are you from? He goes, Canada. He was my friend for years. I didn't know. Canadians, if they were evil, would make the best spies. The best spies against America, except you're not evil and we love you. So anyway, what else? Oh, God, no, they didn't. Tell me they didn't. Angel says Russia just dropped a chemical bomb in Donbass. Let me see. Hold, where's my little controller here? Sorry, I've had the TV on mute. Go back to CNN because CNN was showing its regular shows, which I was not in the mood to see. Nothing there yet. Let me see. Well, Donbass is bad because that's where we're afraid the Russians are going to try something. Hang on here. There's nothing here yet. No, there's nothing online yet. Where did you see that? Oh, I see. Times of Israel. Interesting. I did not hear about this earlier today. It's still popping up in lesser papers, which makes me suspicious. Meaning Times of Israel, Hindustan Times, the Moscow Times. It's weird. It's not popping up in bigger publications. A senior Ukrainian police official has accused Russian forces of launching phosphorus bomb attacks in the eastern region of Luhansk, which I believe are the disputed regions. Disputed. They're not disputed, but they're separatists trying to leave and join Russia. Head of police says Russian forces used the chemical weapon in his area. It's what the Nazis called a flaming onion. And that's what the Russists, an amalgamation of Russian and fascists, are dropping on our towns. Hasn't been verified. My guess is the Western media may be holding off until they can. Hiya. On German news. It's on German news. Yeah, it's not on American right now. That's interesting. I believe you, but they're not showing it. Although I often find too that stuff will hit social media. It's kind of interesting. Stuff will hit social media. Like I watch CNN a lot. MSNBC is okay. I prefer CNN. Stuff will hit social media and I will know about stuff before it's on CNN. And I'll literally be watching CNN going, come on. And then 5 or 10 minutes later, CNN jumps in. But my guess is there's a little bit of a delay too, because they feel like they've got to verify it. They don't just want to put, especially something as incendiary, no pun intended, as chemical weapons, that if it is saying it's on the news, okay, all right. I believe you, trust me, but they're not reporting it in America yet. And it makes me actually, you know what I'll do really quick too? I'm going to check Twitter, because on my Twitter feed, I have a nice collection of people, my Russia experts. And let me check. Hold on, put on my glasses and see. No, they're not. Nope, they're talking about the journalist who was killed, the American journalist. Mariupol. God. Mariupol, 100+ bombs and rockets in 24 hours. Jesus Christ. It's this picture. Jesus Christ. Hold on. I'm going to retweet this. And I know it's like scary stuff again. Oh, I can't download it. I was going to download it for you guys, but I can't because I've got you guys on Instagram. I'm not going to, even though it's only 16 of you, I'm not going to drop you Instagram people. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything about the phosphorus on my, in my Twitter feed either. My guess is people are still trying to, it may have been a local feed. People are still trying to, yeah, it's not here. No, I'm looking at CNN too. Nothing yet. We'll see. Yep, I believe you, but nothing yet. So we'll have to see. Yeah, Kiev Independent. Is it there yet or not? Kiev Independent, I like a lot. The Kiev. I say Kiev. I was brought up calling it Kiev, which was the Russian name of referring to the capital of Ukraine, was Kiev. And for example, the food chicken Kiev. And the real name of the city is Kyiv, or it's actually, I had looked it up the other day. It's Kyiv. It's actually a double sound. So it's instead of Kiev, K-Y-E-V, it's Kyiv, K-Y-I-V. So you're literally saying Kyiv. But in English, we often say Kyiv because it's kind of hard to say Kyiv. But we don't really have a sound like that, like E-E. I don't think we do, that I can think of. But the Kiev Independent, you know what? I must have years ago referred to them as the Kiev Independent because that's when I want to say their name, that's what I say. The Kyiv Independent, good for independent news in English. Instagram users in Russia are told their service will cease at midnight. Interesting. They must be using Instagram. Sorry, guys. They must be using Instagram to spread a lot of the disinformation. Yeah, the zoo. Actually, you know what? I was going to bring that up. I don't have the link. The zoo is asking for the public to buy tickets to save the animals from starvation in Mykolaiv, which is a town that's in really bad trouble. You know what I'm going to do? Okay, this is the link because a friend had this the other day. I have no idea how hard it is to send money. Instagram people, again, I apologize, but if you're on YouTube, you'll see this. Yeah, see the link? Wait, here we go. Okay, here we go. It's sold out. Let me see if I can book a ticket. I'm just going to see if it's working because it wasn't working the other day, but I think it is now. This is good. Their site is like overwhelmed with people, which is fabulous. Hold on. I'm going to get this URL again, then I'm going to put it. Yeah, their site is overwhelmed. It's the site for the zoo. The animals are starving. They're asking for money and people are, giving it from all over the world. I'd say donate some. I will, even if they're getting a lot of money, it's animals. And all you have to do is translate. Oh, it is letting me. Nice. Yeah, I can buy them if I want. I'll have to look and see. I don't know how you pay. I don't know how easy it is with your credit card, but let me, oh boy, it's coming up really slowly. Well, when it comes up again, I will copy it into YouTube, at least for you YouTube people. But yeah, it's a great newspaper. But anyway, I'm trying to see more about the phosphorus. Actually, I should look at this before I come on the show. It's a ton of I really hadn't been checking their website. I follow them online. This is good. Yeah. Nope, I'm not seeing anything about, I'm going to just do a search for phosphorus on their page. There's nothing about phosphorus on their page. No, just, well, okay, hold on. There is a quote about it. President Duda of Poland says, Polish President Andrzej, maybe? Duda has said that the use of chemical weapons in Ukraine by Russia would be a game changer, and NATO would have to think seriously about how to respond. Yeah, his comments come after NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Russia might use chemical weapons. In recent days, no, okay, this is still not mentioning anything about a claim. So far it's not on the Kiev Independent yet. Okay, I'll let that story go. Anyway, might be true. We'll find out, but keep your eyes on it. Yeah, they're lying about that because I know American lab in Ukraine. It's not on the news because it's a lie. There is no American lab. What's going on is the U.S. has been two things. The U.S. has been helping Ukraine get rid of its Soviet era, chemical, I think it's biological weapons labs. I think it is. I guess chemical and biological, I believe. And we're helping them with research to fight biological weapons because of the Russian threat. And they've got a lab that I don't even know what the research is, but it's some kind of research that looks into like, what do you do? What do you do if a biological weapon is launched on your territory? So that's what's going on. And what happened is the far right in this country, Putin did it first. The Russians are claiming it. Tucker Carlson, Greenwald, and other people in our country, all of whom I consider the far right. Carlson did, and I'm 99% sure. I'm trying to remember which lie it was Greenwald was spreading. I think it was this lie that Greenwald was spreading. That the U.S. is in cahoots producing chemical weapons. It's a Russian lie, and it's a Russian lie. Again, not going to get into the substance. You got me talking about substance. It's a Russian lie that they're using to just justify their own chemical weapons use at some point soon, because then they're going to say, we warned you about chemical weapons and look what happened. Somebody dropped a chemical weapon on Kyiv. Who could it be? It must be the Ukrainians. We warned you. Russia warned you, right? Can you give us a list tomorrow of good vetted TikTok bloggers to follow? I should do that. I can't say good. I follow an eclectic list on TikTok. I will just tell you who I like because I've got a number. Like I said, like the Jew crazy boys absolutely drive me nuts. I think they're the most hilarious. They're this brothers-in-law, Orthodox Jewish in New York City. And they are. And they're irreverent towards Judaism, but they're more irreverent towards people who are anti-Semitic, who are anti-Jewish. And they're just hilarious. And I mean, they're very funny too. And they also kind of teach you about Orthodox. It's neat. They throw in some of the rituals. So they're actually teaching you about Orthodox Judaism. And they're also just hilarious guys, which is kind of nice too. It's like an introduction to a community that I'm not familiar with. I don't know any Orthodox Jews that I know of. So it's kind of neat too. I think it's a great visibility project. Tucker Carlson's been, depending where you are politically, I don't want to get into that. As I said, I really have tried hard not to make, and I think we all have to try hard not to make the Ukraine issue political, meaning right versus left. That is one of the things the Russian trolls, the paid Russian informants or whatever are doing on TikTok. You can tell because they come in and they try to start fights. And I think some of it is they're pretending to be people on the left. It happened like just 2 days ago. It started coming in where they were saying, Donald Trump's to blame. And whether you think Donald Trump's to blame, suddenly that was coming up a lot. And it hadn't come up in a while. And everyone's saying it. And you're going, okay, that's a little weird. Trying to talk about guns. This is why we need the Second Amendment. What's happening in Ukraine? Again, I guarantee you it's either somebody on the extremes here who's trying to cause trouble. It's not an actual advocacy of the issue. They're trying to cause trouble. They're trying to get people fighting, and they're trying to basically take all of you agree about Ukraine. Let's get you fighting about guns in America, because I guarantee you half will be on one, maybe not half, but let's say half on one side, half will be on the other, and you'll hate each other. And no longer will you be unified about Ukraine. Now you hate each other. It's happening all the time. And that's the stuff they're doing. So anyway, Tucker, unfortunately, I said that's the reason I don't get political, but Tucker has been siding with Putin. There's no other way to put it. He has been putting out, he backed off a couple days, like a week and a half ago. He suddenly backed off and was kind of Like, why are people saying I'm siding with Putin? I don't think this is good for Ukraine. And now he's on the US and Ukraine had chemical weapons. He's presenting every Russian lie now. It's very bad. I just hope that it's the same thing as Alex Jones, really. I just hope that conservatives, people on the right, Republicans, whoever, I'm glad to see somebody here who says he's like Tucker in the past, who thinks he's lost a ton of faith, because I just hope to God people look at that and go, okay, this is BS. This isn't right. This isn't true. You worry that people look at it and think, well, I trust him. It must be right, but scary. Anyway. All right, guys, you know what? Let's call it quits. I'm exhausted, but yes, I will do the video. I will try to do a video of the usernames. I will definitely get my TikTok list. TikTok's easy too, because I can even open it on the screen. Next time, maybe when we get into the end. Alicia, thank you again. I don't know if I thanked you. I did not. That's new. Thank you for that, Alicia. I can, even when we get into the chat at the end, the fun chat, it's easy for me just to pull up my TikTok and read you some people. So that's easy to do. But yeah, I was thinking with Ukraine, it's a little tough because the Ukraine thing, there's enough that I think it's been important to talk every day. So I don't really want to do a second thing because it's just too tiring, especially if we do this afterwards. But it'd be fun to do some other talks. I can talk about working at the UN. We can even talk about TikTok, which I think would be interesting right there. Just TikTok accounts we like. Again, I don't want to do them a paid ad since they're currently banning me. And again, moderator, not moderator, she's been amazing. Be kind. Check and again, I apologize to the Instagram folks, but the emails are on YouTube. The email address is in the Twitter direct message, and the form that you can fill in online. You can put the same message to all of them to TikTok to let them know if you think this live update was hate speech against Russia. Because it wasn't. And that's what they accused me of. And nicely, but let them know this is BS. Okay. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's sign off. I'm going to go. I'm going to snack a little, hopefully nothing too fattening. And if it's not horrifically cold, it suddenly got freezing. We had snow yesterday. If it's not horrifically cold, I'm going to take the dog out for a little bit. She hates snow. I like snow. I don't like walking in it, but thank you guys. Thank you, Debbie. All right. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, let's tomorrow. Taryn, thank you again. Thank you for the donation, Taryn. That's sweet. I appreciate it. We can get in tomorrow, like learning about foreign affairs. Somebody's asking, how do I learn more about foreign affairs? I'll tell you right away. Read. One of the best things to read is The Economist. I wrote for them at one point. They're expensive though, so I wouldn't want to get it unless you can get a deal. It's a magazine that comes out once a week. It's all foreign affairs. I think very readable. It should not be over your head. It's very interesting, very well written. It has an interesting almost sense of humor to the writing, like a personality, which is why I liked writing for them. But they're not cheap. Otherwise, try to find some newspapers that you like and read. Go online, New York Times and Washington Post. Unfortunately, you got to pay beyond 10 articles, but I would go online and read, and just every article you see about foreign stuff, start reading it. That's what I did. I just started reading the paper and making sure that everything about something abroad, I was at least reading about it. Then I went to school, which helped too, graduate school about it. But it's, you just develop an expertise. Is it 39 degrees? Yeah. See, that's just, I have to take Sasha out because we go out so she can do her stuff, but she gets frustrated if we don't do a nice walk. It's funny. The dogs are funny that way. All right, guys. Oh, Richard. Now I'm feeling bad. Carolina. See, you guys keep giving me little contributions, so you're making me not want to sign off. I should be like, what was his name? It wasn't Swaggart. Who was the guy who said, like, God is going to kill me if you don't give me donations? Who was that? One of the American televangelists. Horrible. But that was his fundraising pitch. Oh, come here. Oh, I heard that. Somebody shook. Somebody just woke up and shook. Perfect timing. There you go, my love. My yes. That was you. She just woke up and shook away so I could hear it. There you go. So this is Sasha, everybody. She's not looking at you guys. She's looking at the Instagram people. All right, there you go. Oh, as she knocks off my Instagram mic. Well, that was good. That was the perfect ending. Mads, thank you as well. Oh, that's why I was saying the joke. I said, I just feel like I'm signing off unless you keep giving me donations. And I'll only do the fun. I'm kidding because I'm way too tired. Sasha's also at the door looking at me. She's got to go out. All right, guys, at the risk of cutting off more donations, thank you. As I said, she's jumping on the door. Goodbye, guys. I got to go. We'll talk tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.